Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. New COVID rules. Health Minister Darville says the country's on the pathway to normalcy. The Doctors Hospital CEO, though, says plan for another COVID wave. And in our discussion today, we are talking with the Deputy Leader candidate for the FNM, Shannon Dawn Cartwright, live in studio. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Monday, February 21st, 2022. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Pamela Musgrove will be joining us. Later in Morning Blend Business, we go deeper on the new COVID rules. Latrey Ramming will be here going through it with us this morning. But first, it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while we're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, new COVID rules coming into effect, loosening restrictions on social gatherings, restaurant dining, church services, funerals, and group exercise. The new rules, which came into effect yesterday, also mandate that people traveling to the Bahamas or to other islands from either New Providence or Grand Bahama must undergo secondary testing on the second day after arriving, as opposed to the fifth. Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville saying the change in the rules is a result of the much improved COVID situation in the country and noted that more revisions can be expected. Darville saying, quote, on the wings of this success, the advisory committee has made some recommendations to revise the health services rules in the pathway to restoring normalcy. It is noted that as the situation improves, the public can expect more revisions to remove or relax restrictions. However, the public is reminded that the relaxation of certain restrictions could be tightened if the picture of the pandemic worsens to reduce the further spread of COVID and prevent risking injury to the economy. Now, under the latest rules, private indoor gatherings may take place at a residence or facility with as many as 40 people in attendance. Outdoor private gatherings are limited to 100 people. Whether indoor or outdoor, all attendees must either be fully vaccinated or present a negative COVID test result, and all COVID protocols must be adhered to. Hosts who break the rules are liable to a fine not exceeding $2,000, as well as a fine not exceeding $300 for each person in attendance. Attendees who break the rules are also liable to a fine not exceeding $300. Previously, no more than 30 people were allowed at outdoor gatherings and no more than 20 people indoor. This is the first adjustment of the rule since December 23rd, when restrictions related to social gatherings and entry to the country were tightened in light of exploding COVID numbers. Now, with restaurants, they may operate provided that all COVID protocols are adhered to. Tables, chairs, and other implements used by patrons are sanitized after each use, and masks are worn by patrons except when eating or drinking. Additionally, islands listed in the second schedule of the rules must also ensure that for indoor dining, all patrons are either fully vaccinated or have a valid negative rapid antigen test. Seating must also be limited to 75% of the restaurant's seating capacity, which was previously limited to 50% for second schedule islands. In the latest rules, the second schedule was adjusted to include only New Providence and Grand Bahama. Previously, Eleuthera and Inagua were also included in that second schedule. We'll have more coming up in a bit. Meanwhile, while he noted that Doctors Hospital is seeing fewer COVID patients, Doctors Hospital CEO Dr. Charles Diggis says it's important to plan for the possibility of another wave. He noted that some Asian countries are already battling a fifth wave of cases. Diggis saying, quote, "We're seeing less and less of COVID disease. The question is for us, what does the situation in places like Hong Kong or Korea mean when you're talking fifth wave possibility? Would that mean that in our near future we could continue to be vigilant? We should continue to be vigilant and prepare ourselves?" He described this as that they believe that they're into another wave, other locations into another wave, or a surge in cases, and they're calling that a fifth wave in some parts of the world. He says, regardless of the number you give it, quote, "There is a problem somewhere in the world that's seeing a significant number of infections, hospitalizations, and death, and it's really important for us to continue to pay attention to that because we don't have any closed borders." The F&M convention will cost more than $200,000 after it was moved from a virtual to an in-person event. That's according to the party's convention co-chair, Ethan Adderley. Adderley was speaking during a press conference yesterday. That convention begins on Wednesday and will end on Friday at the Grand Ballroom at Atlanta's Paradise Island. Overseas, the U.S. and Russian presidents have tentatively agreed to meet in a last-ditch diplomatic effort to stave off Moscow's invasion of Ukraine, as heavy shelling continued today in a conflict in eastern Ukraine that's feared will spark the Russian offensive. French President Emmanuel Macron sought to broker a possible meeting between U.S. President Joe Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin in a series of phone calls that dragged into the night. Macron's office saying that both leaders had accepted the principle of such a summit to be followed by a broader summit meeting, also involving other relevant stakeholders, to discuss security and strategic stability in Europe. It added that the meetings, quote, "can only be held on the condition that Russia does not invade Ukraine." The White House saying that the administration has been clear that they're committed to pursuing diplomacy until the moment an invasion begins, saying that Russia currently appears to be continuing preparations for a full-scale assault on Ukraine very soon. Macron's office saying that the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov are expected to lay the groundwork for the summit when they meet this coming Thursday. This is all followed a flurry of calls by Macron to Putin, Biden, and also British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. A Kremlin spokesperson saying today that Putin and Biden could meet if they consider it necessary, but emphasized that it's, quote, premature to talk about specific plans for a summit. In sports, a few big names missing at the B3A's Diana Lynn track and field time trials over the weekend, but that didn't stop the action as two more athletes unofficially qualified for the Carifta Track and Field Championships. The two qualifiers coming in the under-20 boys shot put event. They were Extreme Athletics' Leonardo Taylor and Noble Preparatory's Leon Williams. The duo were the only competitors in that event, and it was Taylor who came out on top when he saved his best throw for the day of 9.94 meters for his last attempt. The Carifta standard is 7.07 meters. Williams finished behind him, also saving his best throw for the last toss. Last with the toss at 9.35 meters. A trio of Bahamian collegiate swimmers wrapping up their NCAA conference championships, ending grueling days of competition. Isaac Bastian and Lily Higgs competing at the Macaulay Aquatic Center in Atlanta, taking part in the Atlantic Coast Conference Swimming and Diving Championships. Bastian was in NCAA Division I action for Florida State University. In the 200-yard breaststroke on Saturday, he swam in the C final, clocking 1:55.36 to win that race. It was a personal best time for the senior. At an NCAA B-cut qualifying time, he was able to improve his time from the preliminaries when he swam 1:59.13. Higgs, who swam for the University of North Carolina Tar Heels, finished third in the B final for the 200-yard breast and a personal best time of 2:12.12. It was also an NCAA B-cut qualifying time. Read more about how the swimmers are doing in today's Guardian Sports section. From college basketball, angry about Wisconsin calling a late timeout, Michigan coach Juwan Howard began arguing in the post-game handshake line. Moments later, he hit a Badgers assistant in the head and mayhem followed. The Wolverines' inability to boost their NCAA tournament credentials was the least of their concerns after a 77-63 loss Sunday at number 15 Wisconsin. Their head coach could be facing major discipline after his poke turned a pushing and shoving scrum into a punch-filled brawl. Howard struck Wisconsin assistant Joe Krabinoff after jawing with Wisconsin coach Greg Gard during the handshake line. The Big Ten said it planned to take swift and appropriate disciplinary action when it completes its review. During his post-game news conference, Howard said he didn't like Wisconsin calling for a timeout with 15 seconds left and the Badgers leading by 15. He said he thought it was unnecessary. Gard said he called the timeout because his reserves were in the game and only had 4 seconds to get the ball past midcourt. A timeout gives them 10 seconds. Major League Baseball and their negotiations to salvage opening day resume at a new venue today, Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. Colorado Rockies CEO Dick Monfort, chairman of the owner's Labor Policy Committee, expected to join a management delegation that includes the deputy commissioner. Bruce Meyer, the union's chief negotiator, is expected to be joined by players. The site of the negotiations is about 3 miles from the home of New York Mets pitcher Max Scherzer, among the 8 players of the union's executive subcommittee. The ballpark usually would be the spring training home of the Miami and St. Louis Cardinals at this time of year, but workouts failed on time last Wednesday due to baseball's 9th work stoppage and its first since 1995. And from the NBA, the All-Star Game, Steph Curry nearly upstaging LeBron James' homecoming weekend by scoring 50 points with a memorable shooting display to lead Team LeBron to a 163-160 win over Team Durant in the NBA All-Star Game Sunday night. But while Curry made 16 three-pointers and was named the game's MVP, it was James' fadeaway that gave his team the win. In his 19th All-Star appearance, James finished with 24 points. Joel Embiid led Team Durant with 36 points. That's sports. And that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. In your weather for today, a strong high-pressure system will produce moderate to fresh winds over the area. Beachgoers should be alert for possible rip currents and rough surf along north and easterly shores. For all areas today, forecast calls for partly sunny, warm, and breezy conditions with isolated showers, becoming fair and mild tonight. Small craft should exercise caution. Winds northeast to east at 15 to 20 knots, seas 4 to 7 feet in slight north and easterly swells. It's about 72 degrees right now, partly cloudy skies in Nassau. Look for highs getting up to around 81 Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 68 Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook coming up after traffic in just a bit. You're listening to Morning Blend. When we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on your home for fresh news and smart talk all day. Guardian Radio 96.9.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
If you're looking to diversify your portfolio, chart a course for RF mutual funds, where you can get global returns through our suite of internationally invested funds. Get exposure in U.S., Asian, European, and emerging markets without central bank approval. And with financial services leader Stanley as the advisor and custodian of our international funds, you can benefit from RF's global connections. Set sail for international markets today by visiting rfgroup.com. RF, money at work.
Drive happy with free fuel for a year with CIBC First Caribbean and Esso. Use your CIBC First Caribbean Visa debit or credit card to fuel up with $25 or over at any participating Esso service station, and you are automatically entered for a chance to win the grand prize and weekly prizes of $200 in fuel or cash. Offer runs until March 20th, 2022. Terms and conditions apply. Visit CIBCFCIB.com for more details. The Esso brand is a trademark of the ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up,
back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us 422-4796. Remember, standard text rate supplied. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Pamela Musk will be joining us. We'll give you the phone numbers to call in just a bit. Coming up this morning, more weather, traffic, and in our 7 o'clock hour, we're going to kick off a conversation with Bamboo Town MP Shannon Don Cartwright. He is running for deputy leader of the F&M. Their convention begins this week, Wednesday, for 3 days following that. And it's going to be a hot week for them, and we're going to talk with him about a lot of things this morning. That's coming up. Then in Morning Blend Business, we are talking with the Director of Communications, Trey Ramming, about the new COVID rules. A lot to talk to him about as well, so we've got a big show ahead this morning. Let's begin with what's in the news. Did I say Bamboo Town? He's St. Barnabas. Shannon Don Cartwright. St. Barnabas. The Bees. Yeah. St. Barnabas MP Shannon Don Cartwright will be joining us this morning. Okay. In the news, new COVID rules. The health minister says the country is back on its pathway to normalcy. The country is back on its way. Our Rachel Scott writing about this in today's Nassau Guardian. And again, we're going to talk more about this with Trey Ramming coming up in Morning Blend Business at 9. But the new COVID rules came into effect yesterday, loosening restrictions on social gatherings, restaurant dining, church services, funerals, and group exercise. The new rules also mandate that people traveling to the Bahamas or to other islands from New Providence or Grand Bahama must undergo secondary testing on the second day after arriving as opposed to the fifth. Minister of Health, Dr. Michael Darville, says that the change in the rules is a result of the much improved COVID situation in the Bahamas and noted that more revisions can be expected. He said, quote, on the wings of the success, the advisory committee has made some recommendations to revise the health services rules in the pathway to restoring normalcy. It is noted that as the situation improves, the public can expect more revisions to remove or relax restrictions. However, the public is reminded that the relaxation of certain restrictions could be tightened if the picture of the pandemic worsens to reduce the further spread of COVID-19 and prevent risking injury to the economy. Now, under the latest rules, private indoor gatherings may take place at a residence or facility with as many as 40 people in attendance. You'll recall that that was 20 people. No more than 20 before the rule change. Outdoor private gatherings are limited to 100 people. Previously, it was 30. Now, whether indoor or outdoor, all attendees must either be fully vaccinated or present a negative COVID test, and all COVID protocols must be adhered to. All right, so I think that's really interesting. I don't know how people do this when it is at your own home, your residence, how militant people are getting with that, searching and asking for your guests to present a test result or your COVID vaccination card. Well, I mean, I hope, but okay. Hosts who break the rules are liable to a fine not exceeding $2,000, as well as a fine not exceeding $300 for each person in attendance. Attendees who break rules are liable to a fine not exceeding $300. This is the first adjustment to the rules since December 23rd, when restrictions related to social gatherings and entry to the Bahamas were tightened in light of the exploding COVID numbers. With restaurants may operate provided that all COVID protocols are adhered to. Tables, chairs, and other implements used by patrons are sanitized after each use, and masks must be worn by patrons except when eating or drinking. Additionally, islands listed in the second schedule must also ensure that for indoor dining, all patrons are either fully vaccinated or have a valid negative rapid antigen test result. Seating must also be limited to 75% of the restaurant's capacity, which was previously limited to 50% for second schedule islands. Second schedule islands now only include New Providence and Grand Bahama. Previously, Eleuthera and Inagua were included in the second schedule. Now, there's some adjustments to churches as well and places of religious instruction. They may conduct services, including weddings or funerals, in accordance with the protocols issued or approved by the ministry. On New Providence and Grand Bahama, attendance at services must be limited to 50% of the facility's capacity. Attendance at services was previously limited to 33%. The new amendment revokes the old Section 31 of the rules, which in part states that funerals held in a church must be conducted without the presence of the remains of the deceased. Under the amendment, you can now have the remains inside the church during a funeral service. Okay. For all islands, graveside funerals may be held provided that all attendees and officiants adhere to COVID protocols and any protocols issued or approved by the ministry are adhered to. The new rules also allow for indoor group exercise to have groups with as many as 30 people, and groups exercising indoors were previously limited to 20 people. All right. So some interesting changes there. Some adjustments to travel as well. Let's go through those. All right, so anyone traveling to the Bahamas from an island listed in the second schedule, New Providence, Grand Bahama is required to have a negative result of a COVID test taken within 72 hours prior to travel. Anyone traveling to the Bahamas or from an island listed in the second schedule, New Providence or Grand Bahama, is required to have a negative result of a COVID-19 test taken within 72 hours prior to travel. An RT-PCR test is required for those who are unvaccinated. Those who are vaccinated may submit either an RT-PCR test or a rapid antigen test result. Anyone entering the Bahamas or traveling inter-island from Grand Bahama and New Providence is required to undergo a rapid antigen test on the 5th day after arrival and submit the result to the Ministry of Health and Wellness via its travel health website, travel.gov.bs. Anyone entering the Bahamas or traveling inter-island from Grand Bahama and New Providence is required to undergo a rapid antigen test on the 5th day. Anyone who is out to sea on the 2nd day of his stay is required to undergo a rapid antigen test at the first port of call thereafter and submit the result to the Ministry of Health and Wellness via its travel health website. Where the rapid antigen test indicates a positive result, that person shall be required to undergo an RT-PCR test and submit to mandatory isolation in accordance with the rules. And anyone who fails to undergo a rapid COVID test in accordance with the rules is liable to a fine not exceeding $1,000 or to a term not exceeding 1 month's imprisonment. And this is all effective yesterday, February 20th. All right. Let's get your reaction to all of this, folks. What do you make of these adjustments? Heading in the right direction, or you still have some concerns about what's in place? 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. Let's hear how you're feeling about all of this today. Good morning, caller. You are on Morning Blend. Caller.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Hello.
Hi, good morning. You're on the air.
Good. Yes, good morning, sir. Just a quick question. I'm hearing that schools are now reopening starting as of today, 5 days of the week, 5 days this week. But I'm trying to figure out, the Minister of Education or nobody has said anything about it, so I'm kind of perplexed on what's going on. There's been no announcement or anything saying that.
I don't think that's accurate, and it depends on the school. They're saying now that they're gradually moving to full-time, but you have to check with the school. So whichever school, find out exactly what's going on there. But that's not the case at the public schools, not yet.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah, but check with your school. Check with the school to find out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Hi. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Quality Days is Strachan, always along with you, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
We need justice, law, and order in this country. Dwight, you know what I don't approve? Ignorance coming from people would call themselves intelligent. Here it is. They talked about 20% in an area, 40% in an area, right? The thing is, what those 20 and 40% and 30% equates to how many square feet? They didn't say that.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people have been wondering about that as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Why not take into account the size of the building, not just, right, as you're saying, the percentage of people who can fit in there? Yeah, that's a valid point. Any other concerns you have? Nope, gone? Okay. 323, yeah, that's a good one. People are saying that. But yeah, I mean, it does make it a lot simpler. People start counting the parking lot as part of their square footage, and then you run into all kinds of problems, right? So I guess that's for simplification purposes, perhaps. So, no? 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. Listen to this. This person's paying attention. Yeah. That's why I just reminding you about your idea, 242 Day, February 24th. Yes, we've got to do this, right? Nobody else seemed to care so much, but yeah, it's coming up. We've got to do that. We've got to celebrate this coming Thursday, 242 Day. Let's come up with some ideas on how we can do that. Let's do it. The texter goes on to say, let 2022 242 Day be the start of a grand patriotic day and celebration. Promote it on your radio station and get the powers that be and the general public involved. Let's paint the country blue, black, and gold. Sounds wonderful. I'm going to bring it up to all of our guests this morning. They've got some influence. Hopefully that'll get somewhere. And every year from here on, February 24th, 242 Day, what can we call it? Maybe that can become our flag day, since we don't have one of those. Right? Let's do it, folks. Tell everybody you know. 242 Day coming up, February 24th. 224, yeah? 24-2. Right, yes, you get it. All right, this text here. Praise the Lord, they are finally coming to their senses with COVID. Now, if we can only get them to stop the senseless COVID deaths reporting that serve no purpose, also no one asks for cards at restaurants. They do these things to look like they are something. Man, it's a clown town. Well, I have disagreements with almost every part of your text. I don't think it is senseless to report the deaths. They do ask for cards. And maybe not the restaurants you go to, I don't know. Clown Town, well, maybe, but not necessarily just because of this. But I hear you. Okay, coming around. The world is adjusting their thought on all of this as we seem to be nearing the end of the dark, deep pandemic tunnel, hopefully. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning, Dwight. How you doing?
Doing well.
Just very quickly here. It's good to see that some of the states in the United States have actually relaxed, mask wearing and so on and so forth. And obviously, I'm hoping that it's based upon what they are seeing in their individual states as the protocols are now being lifted. Here in Nassau, however, and the previous caller hit something spot on just now, whereas I think the determining factor for edifices such as churches and stuff, if you know that you take 100 persons comfortably in your congregation, for instance, and you relax it, let's say you only permit 50 persons in the church, then obviously half of the amount. Then obviously you should have more than enough space to space everyone out. The question is, though, whether the pastors, or, well, I don't want to single out the church particularly. I'm just using it for an example. Restaurants, for instance, will they allow just the 50 persons to come in, or will they still push the envelope and go 70, 75, 80? That is the question that needs to be, that we need to look at. So you're empowering the person using their conscience to make a conscious decision to adhere to what is being said, but where's the enforcement? You still can't take the enforcement out of it. Someone still needs to go around and just spot check to make sure that these things are being adhered to. And I think that if that's done, then we may be well on to getting out of this pandemic and out of this craziness that we're going through in the country right now. Thanks for taking my call.
Okay. Thank you very much. More of your text messages. This person says here, the data is out. Natural immunity is as effective, if not more effective, than vaccination.
If you'd like,
as far as death and symptoms are concerned. Why is our Minister of Health and his advisors ignoring this? Now, see, okay. Let me finish your text before I get back to this. Anyway, Omicron is just as dangerous as the flu. The studies are out there. I hate to bring this up, but have you heard anything from Dr. Forbes about hospitalizations due to second COVID infections, except for her immune-compromised patients? Well, again, we need the studies, right? Were the people hospitalized who weren't vaccinated, who got COVID a second time? I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions. I hear you on that. But as you've seen, of course, they haven't been very ill. But there are a lot of people who have had COVID 2 times. Just heard Prince Charles. And even, well, I don't know if she had it before. Did she have it before, Queen Elizabeth? But he definitely had it before. And has it again, or had it again. So that happens, but it's mild. Mild. Is it mild because of the vaccine, or mild because they had it before? In any event, you can still get it. But okay. But what you seem to be implying is that you're suggesting that people forego vaccination and just get COVID and take your chances. And that's risky. It's very, very, very risky. That's the problem. So, I mean, you might be entirely right, but who's going to take the chance? Let me just get it and get some natural immunity. You don't know. Half the people in this country don't know how sick they are. So you're thinking you're fine. You do this. Another text here. I caught the tail end of the new protocols. Are there any changes with international travel protocols? Yeah, I read them again. You heard that part? Yeah? Let me do it one more time. All right. Anyone traveling to the Bahamas from an island listed in the second schedule is required to have a negative result of a COVID test taken within 72 hours prior to travel. An RT-PCR test for those who are unvaccinated, and an RT-PCR or rapid antigen test for those who are vaccinated. Anyone traveling to entering the Bahamas or traveling inter-island from Grand Bahama and New Providence required to undergo a rapid antigen test on the 5th day after arrival and submit that result to the Ministry of Health and Wellness via the Travel Health website. Anyone out to sea on the 2nd day of his stay is required to undergo a rapid antigen test at the first port of call thereafter and submit the result to the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Okay. Another text here. All restrictions need to end. If they are using the premise that the hospitals were overwhelmed, we would never get out of this. PMH and the RAND had issues before COVID. Let's get on with life and stop restricting ourselves from progress. Get over your fears, people. Get over your fears. What? Okay, I mean, a whole lot of people died. Fears. All right. We're getting there. We're getting there. I mean, what do you want? Just open everything up, like just all the restaurants, crowd yourselves, have people sitting on each other's laps. Don't wear masks. Don't wash your hands as often as you were made to. What do you mean by get rid of all restrictions? And I noticed Bahamians aren't talking about the mask mandate issue like the Americans. The Americans are going crazy. I mean, I haven't heard anybody here say they can't wait for the masks to not be required. I think we've become relatively comfortable with them. No? Okay, Pam saying no. Pamela Musgrove, good morning. Good morning, Pamela.
Morning, Dwight.
Are you
Good
ready
morning,
to not be allowed to wear? I mean, okay, so a couple times over the weekend, I forgot, but I had to go back and get it, right? And I'm like, this is so annoying. But I only had to walk a few feet. But still, it would be good if no one would freak out.
It's not normal.
It's not
normal.
But I mean, we look at those Asian countries before this. I mean, this had become a
they
way
don't
of
wear
life.
consistently. They weren't during the time of an epidemic, and now the pandemic. But it's not a consistent wear. It's not.
So you don't think that'll be a part of our fashion going forward?
No.
We're going to be wearing masks.
No.
Oh, that's a nice mask. I like it. It looks so nice with your outfit.
No. Well, for me, no. Definitely not.
Well, let's hear what you say about that, folks. I mean, are you going to continue using masks no matter what? Or, or you just can't wait for them to say masks are no longer required? Where are you on that? Give us a call about that. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us.
When I traveled in the Christmas, I was with a group, and there was this American lady there. And so while I was talking to her, she was a part of the group. You know, I had the mask on in the lobby area. Normally, if I'm sitting by myself, I wouldn't have the mask on, but because persons were around, I had the mask on. And she said, "Could you please remove your mask so I can understand what you're saying?"
Did you do it?
I mean, nobody had the mask on, so everybody was there.
I'm sure she could understand you. I'm sure she could understand.
She was
you.
just
being,
you know the Americans.
No, they really. This has been a problem for them.
But I think it's good. But I think we're not out of it, because if you use the 1918 pandemic as a benchmark, it was 3.5 to 4 years.
Yeah.
So I think we still have some more time to go. But I think countries that are relaxing their restrictions, when you think about it, Dwight, I said this before, we're going to get out of this when we have the herd immunity, right? And there are only two ways right now to get it. Either you get the vaccine or you get COVID. And so they have pushed the vaccine, and all those who generally want to take the vaccine have taken it. And there are persons who will not take vaccine. So we have to move forward, because if we stay locked down, this thing does not spread, and this just lingers.
But remember now, you notice you're not hearing much about herd immunity anymore because of the changing nature of the variants.
No, I think we're not hearing about it now because they know what has to happen in order for us to come out of this. You know, because earlier
that's what
on,
they're saying, but,
a lot of people were against Sweden. The media in general was against Sweden, and they never reported on Sweden. And everybody's doing now what Sweden has done consistently for the duration of this pandemic.
Yeah. Let's hear what these callers have to say. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
And good morning to Miss Palm, and good morning to those who wake up in the land of the living. Dwight, it's a blessing, I think, for some people that has businesses to ease up the restrictions as far as gathering. And Dwight and Palm, this here is not the government problem right now. Let's be real. This us. If we cannot, as people, practice self-responsibilities, I don't care. You go to church, you got church with tons of people in it. You go to, and it's like the government is trying to ease up things on restrictions for us to have a life. And some people, Palm, just don't care. And then the sad part about it, Mr. Strachan, God forbid the numbers, we won't want it to happen again, go up. Then the government or Dr. Davil and his team has to put more restrictions. And then, what happens? Then everyone say, the hospital is full. But people, we have an opportunity to show everyone as a country, as small as we are, that we can practice self-responsibility. And that's all it is, Mr. Strachan. if all of us practice self-responsibilities by wearing a mask, going in areas where you wear your mask and restricted areas where you don't have this mass gathering, we could make it. Only us, Mr. Davis, Dr. Dowell, his team, none of them can make it unless we, as Bahamian people, say to ourselves, you know what? We only going to have 40 to 50 people. We ain't going to have 300-400 people in our yard. We ain't going to have 300-400 people in the bar. Come on, man. That's simple, Bahamian people. It's simple. And I don't care, Mr. Stroll, I don't care how much gas you bring on this radio. If we, me, you, Miss Palm, and everyone who listens to the sound of my voice don't practice self-responsibility, the numbers can go up. Then the country can go into another state of emergency. Then restrictions have to be limited. And we don't want that. We're coming out. So Bahamian people this morning, show the world that we are Bahamians, that we can take some sort of self-responsibility with the situation. Have a good day, Mr. Straw.
Okay, thank you very much.
But
Appreciate it.
I think that is what's happening with these rules. They are putting it on us to have that responsibility. When you say to the church 50% of capacity, you are leaving it to the church to determine what is 50% of capacity, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you had given a number, 100, 200, that would have been, I think, more restriction. You might have lightened it up from 20, but 100 is still putting restrictions. But 50% of capacity is leaving it to the institutions to determine, the appropriate size and how they manage that.
Absolutely.
So I think throughout this pandemic, we were in some ways given, personal responsibility.
It's people seemed to get upset when it was what the previous administration was saying that.
Yeah.
They used
personal
to get upset
responsibility.
About it,
yeah.
right?
So that's what it is.
But it's the same tactic.
But I think we're in a better place now than we were in the past because we have 50% of the population is vaccinated. Then we have, what's the count on persons who have tested positive? How much is that? 20 plus persons who have tested positive. We also have persons who had COVID and didn't have a test. They didn't know. So I think we are in a better place now than we were before. And so I think it will be good for relaxing the restrictions.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would be as serious as it was in the past.
All right, we're getting some of your messages about whether you are looking forward to a mask-free mandate. We'll get to that a bit. Let's take this call. Maybe this call will answer that too. Good morning, caller. You're on Morning Blend.
Good morning, Dwight.
Hi.
And good morning, Pamela.
Good morning. Good morning.
I listened to the bit quite clearly just now, right? Dwight, for the past 7 months, I was saying to me, people like you there. See the rhythm, just forget, See, Dwight, I travel with extra masks, hand sanitizers, and most folks I be around, they get checked regularly. They military folks, hotel workers, school teachers and things, etc., and who sure can discipline themselves. See, I don't want to let them come check a code now because before this thing do, and I listen to what the new protocol rules. You see, these things have to happen. Many people just selfish people. See, they ought to believe, this is my right. I get my constitution. You know what I mean? I watch young folks about partying, them small club jam up, hundreds of them. No mask, drinking and doing all kind of food this man, and then going home to the parents and the folks and spread this thing, man. But like I say, Bahamas is a rich country and a beautiful country, and some kind of how you got tough love with people, man. You got to keep your stick on them and try to take my call.
All right, so what are you going to be keeping your mask even if there are no more mask mandates? Is he gone? Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to answer this. I
hear people say this. We are no more.
If you'd like to make a call,
we are no more free in terms of our actions than other countries. I hear people say Bahamians, they're stubborn, they're Bahamians, or this, Bahamians, and that. Look around the world. Persons having functions. Look at those football stadiums, the basketball stadiums. Yeah, I know they may have said you must get a negative COVID test or maybe you have to be vaccinated, but people have been enjoying their lives. And so, I mean, if you're not going to fault them, why do you want to fault us in general? Make these generalized statements about us. I disagree with those.
Yeah. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. Masks or no mask? What did say you on that?
Good morning, Dwight. How are you?
Doing well.
Okay, good.
Good morning, Pam. How are you?
Good morning. Good,
And good
thanks.
morning to the nation. What I call to speak to what you were talking about, I'll answer your question last. Look, when you look at the amount of or the percentage of vaccination of the population, as the Minister of Health, Dr. Darwin, has been speaking to, we have around 40% vaccinated, not 50, around 40%, moving towards 50%, right? When you look at the fact that we have done some expansions as it relates to hospital beds, as it relates to nurses and doctors that were brought in to assist in the fight, that has helped to improve our resources. In the event of another wave, we're in a better position in terms of human resources to fight the pandemic, right? The COVID. But the bottom line is we don't know when the next variant is going to come about. We don't know how, we don't know what the level of penetration would be as it relates to the spread of that variant, or we don't know what the level of danger would be as it relates to how deadly it would be. And so it has always been on personal responsibility. And personal responsibility has been the reason why we are seeing the numbers that we are seeing, even in the face of the most transmissible variant of COVID-19 to date, the Omicron, right? Thankfully, the Omicron, even with its high transmissibility, has not come with the level of danger that the Delta had come with to our country. And so anyone who is talking nonsense about personal responsibility, it has always been the Bahamian people who has been keeping the numbers down, okay? And that is what will continue to drive the numbers down. I'm happy now that we have a government in place that recognizes that the Bahamian people has been responsible. The Bahamian people are leading the charge in light of the fact that we have such a low percentage of vaccination in our country, in light of the fact that we have such a high percentage now of vaccinations available, but we still see that there is a decline with people accepting the vaccination. It comes down to the square root of telling you that Bahamians and people at large are being personally responsible and how they execute themselves. And so on that note, I just want to continue to encourage Bahamians to continue to be personally responsible, as you have been doing, to drive the numbers down to where they are in the first place, and to encourage those around you who are not being responsible to become responsible. That's the message that I would like to leave with the Bahamian people, because the facts bear out that it's only because Bahamians, to a large extent, have been personally responsible that we are seeing the reduction in numbers, that we are seeing a reduction in hospitalizations and deaths. And also coupled with the fact that the current Omicron variant is not as deadly as the Delta or other variants pre-Delta. And so to answer your question, Dwight, a part of the tool that has been most important in fighting the COVID-19 spread in our country has been the mask. A biggest part of the problem that the previous administration had with the mask is that it had been doing it in the opposite direction. It had been taking the wrong approach. It was encouraging regular cloth masks, which makes no sense. It placed
you can't just blame them. I mean, that was initially everybody was thinking that could work.
No, Dwight. I understand what I'm saying to you. The former prime minister and he was also minister of health at some point. Immediately after.
Initially that was a global thing. We thought that would, and we learned, and everybody learned.
No.
You're
not hearing me, Dwight. You're not hearing me because I haven't even made my point yet. I'm saying to you, the former minister of health and prime minister, right, who oversaw the worst expansion of COVID-19 in our country, who oversaw the crippling of our health care, he decided to place a ban on N95 masks in our country. Therefore, the very tool, the number one tool that we needed to fight COVID-19.
That was because they needed to have the numbers for the medical professionals. You know this, Anton.
Yeah, you know Monday morning quarterbacking.
You know that.
Yeah, everybody did that because
come on, man.
The medical mask was scarce.
Yeah.
And so initially, yeah.
Oh my
And it was argued that that was a way for Bahamians to also earn monies by making masks for persons to wear. So, you know, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback. That's easy.
This is next year quarterbacking. Okay. Only the people on our social media seem to be answering the question. This person says, Dwight, I'm looking forward to the no mask mandate. Not everybody's saying that, though. Thanks to masks, I have evolved. Dwight, I'm now somewhere in between a Batman and a Ninja Turtle. I'm keeping the mask. And tell Anton to stop his crap. All right. But, I mean, sometimes you hope you could hide away, right? You put on the sunglasses and the mask, and yet everybody knows who you are.
Those days when you do what,
right? Everybody knows who you are. Like, how did you recognize
I
me?
experienced that. I had on the mask and sunshades
and a hat.
No, I didn't have the
I
hat
had
on.
on a hat one time.
And somebody
Everybody knows
just
who you are.
identified
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
And I'm like, what? And then one day I was having a really bad hair day, right? So I was walking downtown and I said, okay, I'm going to put my mask on because the hair day wasn't good. And the person says, hey, I said, how did you recognize me?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Right? So, oh boy. Anyway, let's take one more call and then we got to take a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Strachan.
Hi, good morning.
Morning, Miss Musgrove. How you
Good
doing?
morning. Good, thanks.
Well, Miss Musgrove, I glad are you almost there's that KJ there. I am really tired of people just bashing him and people, I wonder if they watch the rest of the world and see how people carry on.
Yeah, I know.
Every time I hear people, people are the worst. It's like they look like they trained to just bash their own. You understand what I'm saying? It's like they trained to just keep their own down.
Right.
But anyway, Mr. Strachan, you ever didn't wear your mask and look around to see, this is really real, I wear a mask for real before you go in the shop?
Say that part again. If I what? If I never?
Many times I had my mask out to wear, because remember back, I call it back the olden days, and we never used to wear masks. You go in a mask, but if you go in the shop with a mask, they would call the police for you. It's like I was living in a twilight zone. Sometimes they'd be like, oh, no, do I have to wear a mask for real?
Yeah. Once in a while I think about it, how crazy it is.
Can't wait for this day to end.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, have a good day.
Yeah.
You.
I mean,
it was helpful. It was helpful. And, you wore it, particularly when we were going through that Delta, you wore it. But I think...
Let me tell you something. I think if I'm in long lines ever again, if I'm waiting to enter a place and there's a whole bunch of people waiting, I think I'm going to put on a mask.
And people look at you weird.
Yeah?
Like,
Well,
Oh, well.
Oh,
you think...
Especially during flu season. Yeah. I think I'm going to do it.
And then they will look at you that you probably have the flu. That's why you have your mask
Good.
on.
Stand
so
back.
that's fine.
Stand back.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's quite all right. We'll take this one before we go. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Okay. There we go. This text here, Dwight, over 90% of Bahamians followed the rules, and we still had surges. A Johns Hopkins study showed lockdowns did not reduce COVID deaths. Just because an authority figures something doesn't mean they're correct. Saying if only people would follow the rules, things better without questioning the assumption of those rules is a clear sign of someone who has replaced obedience with reason.
The Queen got COVID over the weekend. The Queen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a human still.
Exactly.
So, right. So,
the Queen got
right.
COVID.
And Charles had it twice.
Yeah. And Prince William had it.
Everybody.
Yeah.
The people who haven't had it.
Yeah.
You are very special.
We had it. We
Good.
just didn't get
And
tested.
Right. You're probably, if you think you didn't have it, you had it.
Had it. We just didn't get tested.
But if you never had it, then you and the 10 other people deserve to be in some.
I just think we just need to light up, follow the rules, be safe, because people are still dying from it. And I think the government is headed in the right direction to relax the rules. Because we're not there yet, but I think we could see a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going back to March 2020. I don't think we're going back there.
Let's hope not.
No, I don't think the world will go back there.
Right.
It's too expensive.
No, it was we paid dearly for that.
So,
all right. Hey, we got to take a break. Caller, if you can hold for us, that'll be great. And we'll get back to your text messages as well. This is Morning Blend on a Monday morning here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We'll be back. Stay with us.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
This is AP News. I'm Rita Foley. The Kremlin says yes, Presidents Putin and Biden could meet if they think it's necessary, as the West tries to keep Russia from invading Ukraine. The AP's Jackie Quinn on word that the U.S. and Russian presidents have tentatively agreed to meet.
The White House says it is committed to a diplomatic solution, even though Russia appears to be continuing preparations for an all-out assault. France has been able to broker a deal that President Biden and Russia's Vladimir Putin will hold a summit, provided Putin doesn't invade Ukraine. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on NBC's Meet the Press.
Until the last minute, there is still an option for him to pull back. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to prevent a war.
A handful of world leaders engaged in a flurry of phone calls last night, working out this proposed summit. Blinken and Russia's foreign minister are set to lay the groundwork when they meet Thursday.
The U.S. Embassy in Moscow is advising Americans in Russia to have evacuation plans that do not rely on help from the U.S. government. China is ramping up a feud with the U.S. Beijing says it will impose new sanctions on U.S. defense technologies and Lockheed Martin because of their to Taiwan. Authorities are investigating the cause of a police helicopter crash along the Southern California coast that killed one Huntington Beach officer and injured another. Police Chief Eric Parra on the chopper crash that killed Nicholas Vela, a 14-year veteran with the police department.
An officer that was truly dedicated to his job, that was doing what he loved doing. And this is a tragedy that we are investigating.
Chief Parra heard there on KABC TV. Queen Elizabeth has COVID, says Buckingham Palace. She's got mild cold-like symptoms. This is AP News. The last of the Afghan refugees evacuated from Kabul in August left a New Jersey military base over the weekend for the next phase of their new lives in America. The AP's Julie Walker's got this.
Most settled and established Afghan communities in Northern Virginia and the surrounding D.C. area, as well as Northern California and Texas. It started in August as Afghanistan fell to the Taliban. The U.S. took in 76,000 fleeing the country with help from organizations like Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, headed by Krishomara Vignaraja.
This mission isn't over. Successful resettlement and integration, it doesn't happen in a matter of days or weeks.
She says they'll need help with jobs, permanent housing, and asylum.
The last thing we want is deportations of our Afghan allies.
And the U.S. still plans to admit thousands of Afghan refugees over the next year.
Here at home, the top weekend was Uncharted, which brought in $44 million. I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
It's time for your first look at traffic for this morning. A reminder, it's scheduled to begin today, the milling and paving work for Cordo Avenue between Blue Hill Road and East Street. That work is scheduled to take place between 9:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. and go on for the next 10 working days. So if you are in that area, you're asked to avoid it if you can, but provisions will be made for residents and businesses where necessary. Motorists are asked to utilize adjacent streets and avoid the area again, if possible. In your real-time traffic for today, Mile Butler Highway, same traffic as usual from well south of the Fire Trail roundabout all the way up to the Tawny Williams-Darling Highway roundabout. That's the northbound lanes, traffic backed up along Tawny Williams-Darling Highway as well, westbound to that roundabout. Glaston Road also busy for you just north of Fire Trail up to the JFK Drive roundabout. Carmichael, multiple directions. You're going to be seeing eastbound heavy traffic to Blue Hill Road and westbound on the way to Coral Harbor Road. And then near the southern end of Mile Butler Highway and Faith Avenue, you'll be seeing some congestion there as well. Blue Hill Road, as usual, heavy traffic just north of Soldier Road in the northbound lanes heading to Independence Drive and the roundabout there. And further south near the junction with Carmichael and the junction with St. Vincent, you'll be seeing the heavy traffic there. Independence Drive westbound to the roundabout with Blue Hill Road. East Street, heavy traffic between Soldier and the roundabout with East-West Highway, especially in the northbound lanes. And then Eastern Road, seeing some heavy traffic from just east of Fox Hill Road all the way up to Johnson Road at this hour. Then pockets along Prince Charles Drive, the major intersections. Those are your hotspots for now. That's your real-time traffic and your Morning Blend traffic alert brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined. Time for another check of your weather for today. We've got a strong high-pressure system, which will produce moderate to fresh winds over the area. Beachgoers should be alert for possible rip currents and rough surf along north and east coast beaches. For all areas today, partly sunny, warm and breezy, with becoming fair and mild at night. Small craft should exercise caution. Temperatures getting up to around 81 Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down about 68 Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius. In your extended outlook, fresh winds and rough surf will continue across the country through the middle of the week, while the high-pressure system remains quasi-stationary over the islands. So for tomorrow, Tuesday, partly sunny, warm and breezy with isolated showers, becoming fair and mild at night. Wednesday, partly sunny, warm and breezy with isolated showers, becoming fair and mild at night. That's your Morning Blend weather check. We'll be back with more Morning Blend after these messages here on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Whenever you want, wherever you are, for all your banking needs, we make it easy. CIBC, First Caribbean, we've got all your banking solutions. CIBC, First Caribbean. CIBC, First Caribbean.
Earning zero interest on your savings at the bank? With as little as $100, you can start earning interest on your money while you're sleeping, eating, or standing in line at the bank with the CFAL Savings Express Plan. Ready to invest? Start by putting $1,000 into our mutual funds and earn interest there too. Because at CFAL, your interest is our interest. Visit CFAL.com to start now. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations of Bahamians.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Don't let the fire rush to your head. I've heard the accusation before, and I ain't gonna take any more. Believe me, the sun in your eyes made some of the lies worth believing. I am the eye in the sky.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Pamela Musgrove. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to be talking with St. Barnabas MP Shannon Dawn Cartwright, who is running for deputy leader of the FNM at the FNM convention this week. We're going to be talking about a moment. Just want to get through some of your messages really quickly, and if that caller is still there, we'll take that call. Let me read these messages before we get to that. This person says, I welcome the changes. However, last I read, we still had over 6,000 active cases. So people still need to proceed with caution. Don't let your guard down. Let me confirm that number there. Let's see what the last one says here. We had 2 deaths. Some cases were reclassified. Active cases 5,044. And it takes a while to clear that number, But
Was it ever determined how we determine if a death was caused by COVID?
I mean, I guess they wait for the results, but some of these take a long time.
Because I know in the UK, your death is classified as COVID related if you die within 28 days after you've tested positive for COVID.
Yeah. It's been tricky here because they say people have died with it, but not because of it. It's been a lot of...
But wouldn't be a COVID death.
Right. Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, we had 2 deaths reported in the latest dashboards. An 80-year-old woman from Grand Bahama who died on the 7th of February, and a 66-year-old man from Grand Bahama died on the 14th. Deaths that were previously under investigation, they've been reclassified as COVID deaths. So, wow. Let's take this call. Good morning, call. You're on the air.
Good morning. North Carolina here.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, Pam, and
Hi.
hello, Dwight. How you guys
Good
doing?
morning.
Doing well. Good morning.
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, excellent shows last week. I really, some of them I really did some retrospection.
Oh, this
on
is
past
relationship week?
relationships.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It was really good, Dwight. That was a really good touch and how the angles that you came from. So that was a really good thing.
Thank you very much.
But I want to say, I'm going to continue wearing my mask, at least for some while. At least, like I think like Pam said with the that last pandemic sometime in 1800, whenever that was. I'm going to wear it at least for the next 2 years or so. I was in Jacksonville to a conference this weekend, and in Florida, everybody they don't wear masks. I mean, from the first go, some of them didn't wear it.
Yeah.
So when we were in the hotel, you can see the Floridians compared to the people who were visiting, because the ones who were visiting had on their masks, and the Floridians, they didn't have on a mask. But I mean, and I will continue wearing my mask. Even in North Carolina, you have some persons, and it's the over here is really lax now. Like there's no restriction and all of that. You don't have to wear your mask and all of this and that. So it's not here, but I still wear my mask wherever I go.
Do you feel intimidated? We see lots of videos where they're intimidating, bullying people who do wear masks. Have you experienced that?
I don't feel intimidating.
No? Okay.
I don't do it. I'm going to wear my mask. You don't have to wear yours. That's your problem. But I'm going to wear mine. I told somebody I got all the vaccine. I got the booster, all of that. Plus I got a flu shot. Plus I got another pneumo something shot. The doctor told me, hey, you need to get this. So I got that. No. So I have like five different immune stuff against that. But because I'm diabetic, so that's something that I need to protect for myself. But I'm going to continue wearing it. I don't care if it looks stupid or not. I'm going to continue wearing it. I mean, stupid to other people. It's not going to. Because when we first in January 2020, February 2020, I was traveling and I came back. And this is when, they didn't say anything, like it wasn't saying much. But I saw these 4 African-American women when they were coming on the plane. They had on, a lot of them wear their bonnets now and these big puffy shoes. But they had, all of them had on their masks. And I was like, why these girls, why do they have on their masks? It isn't that bad. I was looking at them like that now and a bias. But now, I don't care if people look at me like that. That's their problem. I'm going to still wear it.
Yep.
You know, wherever I go, you know.
Is that a new fashion statement, the bonnet? Because I've seen that in the airport as well.
What's her name? Oh gosh, what's her name? She talked about it in one of those shows. Oh gosh, her name just keeps slipping to me. She was like on a plump side, and now she lost a lot of weight. She saw somebody in the airport, and she went on a rage. Why do these people like to wear bonnet and this and that? Yeah, I think what they do, they don't want to mess up their hair, like while they're on the plane, because they lay down and all that. But hey, I mean, and I wouldn't wear bonnet on no plane. I'm sorry. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Some people even wear. I went to Las Vegas last year for my 50th birthday, and some people even wear like their nightgowns. No, sorry, Dwight, be off the topic. Sorry, that's not the topic. But anyway, wear your mask.
Yes.
Wear your mask.
Be safe
you
over
guys
there.
Take care.
Yeah, you take care. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. A couple messages as we go to the break. This person says here, are they saying vaccinated and non-vaccinated traveling inter-island from Nassau or Freeport need only rapid antigen test to travel? No more PCR tests? No, not quite.
I thought it was all travelers.
If you are anyone entering the Bahamas or from a second scheduled island, you're required to have a negative result of a COVID test. An RT-PCR test is required for the unvaccinated. Those who are vaccinated can either do the rapid antigen test or the RT-PCR test. And anyone entering the Bahamas or traveling inter-island from Grand Bahama and New Providence is required to undergo a rapid antigen test on the 5th day. Yep. Okay. This person says here, can we ask the Prime Minister any plans to remove VAT from breadbasket items? There was an interview with him over the weekend, or Friday, I think, where he said,
I think that's here to stay.
Yeah,
I don't think
that
it's
so, at least compared to all the other items that have had their VAT reduced.
Yeah. Administratively, I think it's better for the government to have VAT across the board at 10% with as minimal as much as possible exclusions, and then also. When you look at breadbasket items, you have restaurants and a lot of establishments that use bread, and a lot of those items that were getting off on not paying any VAT. And so that's the argument that is being used to attach the VAT across the board. So what needs to happen is support for persons who on the lower income scale, like the talk about minimum wage, increasing that. That's one strategy to show support for persons who are having challenges because the cost of food went up for them.
Maybe.
Yeah.
This text here, yes, I'll keep my mask. No hugs, no handshakes. This has changed my life, my mindset forever. Changed my mindset forever. Okay, yeah. That's been.
I think during
right?
the end of this pandemic,
fist bump has been.
But I still like to, like people I know that I haven't seen in a while. Hug. That's what I do. I do the hug. But I think during as we get to the end of this pandemic, I think that argument may be reversed. You know, initially, persons were complaining that people didn't wear their mask. I think we may see the reverse of that argument, where people will be saying, "Why are you wearing your mask? It's not that serious."
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, we're gonna take a break and news, and when we come back, we're talking with Shannon Don Cartwright right here on Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
Traveling around the world, infecting men, women, boy, and girl, forcing folks to quarantine. I'm talking about COVID-19. Coronavirus, you're a pest. You've got this world in a mess. Like a lethal weapon in the dark, leaving death, destruction.
Fidelity.
believe in relationship banking. We take pride in getting to know our clients. You have access to knowledgeable, approachable ambassadors and financial coaches so that we can recommend the best product for you. At Fidelity, we care about you. From your financial health to your physical health, we can relate to you because we're just like you. Come and start your relationship banking experience with us today. Visit us online at fidelitygroup.com. Visit any of our branches in Nassau or Grand Bahama, or phone 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 for Freeport.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969, at BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us 422-4796. And now at 8:24, time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. Here's what's happening. We've got a strong high-pressure system that will produce moderate to fresh winds over the area. Beachgoers should be alert for possible rip currents and rough surf along north and east coast beaches. For all areas today, partly sunny, warm, and breezy with isolated showers, becoming fair and mild tonight. Small craft should exercise caution. Temperatures today getting up to around 81 Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 68 Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius. In your extended outlook, fresh winds and rough surf will continue across the area through the middle of the week, while the high-pressure system remains quasi-stationary over the islands. So for Tuesday and Wednesday, look for partly sunny, warm, and breezy conditions, isolated showers, becoming fair and mild at night. That's your Morning Blend weather check, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. What's first for you comes first for us. And at 8:25, time for another check of your traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. A reminder about the milling and paving work going on Cordo Avenue between Blue Hill Road and East Street. That is expected to begin at 9:30 this morning and until 2:30 p.m. each day for about 10 working days. You're asked to avoid the area entirely if you can, or use the adjacent streets if possible, but there will be provisions made for residents and businesses in the area. In your real-time traffic, still seeing the heavy traffic on Milo Butler Highway from well south of the Fire Trail roundabout. That's going to be all the way up to Tawny Williams Darling Highway, which itself is backed up a bit this morning, heading westbound to that roundabout. Gladstone Road also busy for you, just north of Fire Trail up to JFK Drive. Blue Hill Road, seeing heavy traffic near St. Vincent Road in between. Well, from St. Vincent up to Carmichael, and then just north of Soldier Road, especially the northbound lanes to Independence Drive. Independence Drive backed up pretty much between the two roundabouts, between Blue Hill Road and East Street, the roundabouts there. Westbound, mainly eastbound, also seeing some heavy traffic this morning. East Street seeing its own share of traffic between Soldier Road and the intersection with Robinson Road, mainly northbound. And then in eastern New Providence, Eastern Road, just east of Fox Hill Road up to Johnson, and pockets along Prince Charles Drive and Robinson Road, the major intersections. You'll be seeing some heavy traffic there. Those are your hot spots right now. That's your real-time traffic in your Morning Blend Traffic Alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined.
Like you don't know what to do. Pick me, shawty, you know who you should choose. Pick me, I'll show you what love is like. Let me be the one who will treat you.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan with Pamela Musgrove. And as promised, we are very pleased to have with us St. Barnabas MP, Shannon Don Cartwright. Great to have you on the show. It's the first time.
Morning, Dwight. It's great to be here with you and Mrs. Ferguson. It's a pleasure. Morning, Bahamas.
Good morning. Good morning.
The audience might be a little confused, but Pamela Musgrove, we call her here on the show. But yeah, that's right too. But that's fine.
It's all
same,
right.
Same
It's
person.
all right.
All
Same
same
person.
person. Same person. It's a modern world, you know.
We have a politician in the studio.
But it's really great to be here. It's an honor to be here this morning with both of you.
Yeah. And you are running for deputy leader.
Running for deputy leader of the Free National Movement.
Yeah, the convention this week.
This week, starting on Wednesday, and we will have final church service, that is, on Sunday.
Okay. All right. We're going to get into that in just a bit. I just want to get this out of the way. You know, there's been a lot over the past few months. Wanted to talk about it. Your previous post, beaches and parks. You know, you've said what you've had to say. But let's talk about this. In this situation, there are investigations underway. What do you make of what has happened, how we got to this point, and the claims that there were just contracts just being pushed through aggressively in the weeks leading up to the election?
Okay, yeah, and as you said, there's been much chatter about the Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority. We are very proud of the thousands of Bahamians, poor persons, people from the middle class who would have benefited from this program, who were able during a very difficult time in the middle of a global pandemic to pay their mortgages and school fees and light bills and other utilities. Very, very proud of that. The Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority was underfunded from day one. From day one, I'm sure you would have heard the communication or seen in the newspaper from Minister Alfred Sayers, where he talked about this issue of overspending was something that predated our administration and was there from the Christie administration. So the authority has always had a challenge with being underfunded. It's something I'm sure that the present government may look at, issue that they may look at arresting. As it relates to issues concerning contracts, in a typical fiscal year, contracts are being written from essentially from July, from July to as far as October. It just so happens that in this particular cycle or in that particular cycle, an election was called. So there was no electioneering. There were already contracts that were in train at that particular time. And so it was just a function of the normal process.
Being a member of parliament for the government at the time, when did you find out about an election?
It's a very great question. I found out when the country found out.
Okay.
And you're not the only one who said that to us.
Yeah, I found out when the country found out. So the election was called on August 19th. Right? That's when it was announced. And so I found out when the country found out.
So then it's fair that contracts could be given out around that time when the country was expecting an election this year, round about May.
Right, absolutely. And so as I had indicated in the House of Assembly, these were contracts that were already in train. And obviously the process had to continue. But of course, in the middle of when an election is called, of course, there will be all sorts of thoughts about electioneering. But it's usually par for the course in that cycle that we are dealing with contracts in the middle of August, even as far as October.
What's the process for issuing contracts for your ministry? How just give us a step-by-step process briefly on how a contract was awarded, payment, and the determination of who got the contract.
Right. What you have with this program is a program that's heavily weighted by recommendations of members of parliament. Okay, recommendations, that is, persons come in and they apply. What we did, my team and I, we tried to ensure, or we did ensure, I would say, and very proud of this, that besides the supporters of both political parties, right, which was important, FNMs, PLPs, even DNAs and other persons, that the regular man in the street who was unaffiliated with any political party, the regular Joe on the street, who, just like anybody, should have access to public funds or opportunities that come from public funds, they were able to get opportunities as well. And so we're very, very proud of that because in a process where it's heavily weighted by the recommendations and suggestions of members of parliament, we try to diffuse as much of the politics as possible, and I believe we achieved that.
So those recommendations came to you. So, for instance, during the last election cycle or administration, did you personally get recommendations from FNM and PLP members of parliament to award contract?
Yes, recommendations, and I said that in the House of Assembly. Yes, absolutely.
And they were awarded contracts.
Yes.
Do you think, from sitting in that seat, that process has to change, or should change?
Well, Ms. Musgrove, and Dwight, we need to have a larger discussion about patronage in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Okay, the process itself. I think you can have a process that may not be as stringent or as rigid as we all may want it to be, because the idea is to make it very easy to ensure that the poor and the middle class get access. Do we want to tighten up some aspects of the process? I'm sure, and I'm sure again, the present government will look at that. At the end of the day, there's this balance of, we talk about the ease of doing business. How easy do we make it for persons to get these opportunities, while ensuring that certain processes are being finalized or concluded in a way that we would want it to be.
See, I'm not a politician. I may be naive. My problem with the process is that you would get recommendations. I don't mean you specifically, because I imagine this happened across ministries, that you would get recommendations from politicians. So likely what would happen would be politicians are going to recommend their supporters. And if you have this tilt in the House like you have now, the party that's the majority would get most of the contracts, and then persons who are Bahamians who are not supporters of that party will not get the contracts, or as much contracts as the governing party would get. Like you said, you try to be fair and ensure that the average person got it, but then again, that's you. Who's to say the next person in the chair would do that? So I'm thinking that the process should change, where it's not based on recommendations by politicians.
And it wasn't solely recommendations of members of parliament. Some would, these are works program, and so obviously using the zones of constituencies helps in the disbursement of it. So I will say that while it's heavily weighted by the recommendations, but not exclusively. Okay. And I will say that the former administration as well, they ensured that, again, that regular persons got opportunity. It wasn't just supporters, but there is no doubt when you have a program that has the involvement of members of parliament, there's no doubt that you will see a trend going a particular way, though not in an absolute way.
Because the text was asking about the same thing. I mean, recommendations from members of parliament, isn't that the very definition of cronyism? Right? And this goes back to the reform that's needed here.
Yeah, and there's no doubt. And listen, I think that as we, again, address this question of patronage, in the country, Patronage doesn't mean illegal, right? Patronage doesn't mean fraudulent. There is a question of how much patronage should be used, how much of public funds and how public funds are used to assist supporters. I think that that's a legitimate question. There is no doubt about that. And I will not sit here and insult the Bahamian people and suggest that that's something that we should not address.
I just think in most cases it's inefficient.
Right.
In most cases it's inefficient, and it's kind of like a backdoor for wasted public funds because you are leaning towards your supporters and not necessarily the best person to get the job done, but it's your supporters. And then we have to pay, the Bahamian people in totality pay in terms of taxes and fees we pay to the government to make up for the inefficiencies and waste of public funds.
No, and that's legitimate. What I would want to emphasize, though, the impact. We have seen the impact, and I would say, just very objectively, because I believe it's important that when we can strip away politics from an issue that's important, legitimately, even the past administration, the past PLP administration, there were persons who needed these opportunities, and it benefited them in a real way. So notwithstanding the points that are being made this morning, there are thousands of people that have been helped by these works programs. There is no doubt about it. Yeah. No doubt about it.
I don't want to dwell on this too much longer. I know you're here to talk about your campaign, but I know there have been questions about some of the contracts and the work that was done, proof the work was done. From your understanding, what exactly happened there? What's caused that confusion, and what can be done so that we don't have to go through this again?
Well, we would have followed the established processes that was there. There is the department that determines the value of the inspection on a particular road. I think the reality of it is that during the cycle of COVID, those were extraordinary times, very extraordinary times, and so you might have seen some slippage in terms of performance as persons were trying to figure out when they could be out, as they tried to balance what would be the orders, rules pertaining to when they could be out cleaning roads and so forth. And so it was a challenging time trying to balance ensuring that we get top performance, while at the same time not disadvantaging somebody because of the dynamics of the country that they couldn't get out on the streets. So, it's something that we need to look at and need to tighten up, and I'm sure the present government, as they've indicated, and as Minister Sayers would have indicated, is something that they're going to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question. So you mentioned that resources are limited in the department. Mm-hmm. So who would have authorized the overspend? So if you have $1 million allocated to the department, but these contracts are coming in and they're totaling $2 million.
Right.
What was that process to authorize the extra contracts?
Right. So as I would have shared in the House, and I wish to emphasize again, I made no unilateral decision as it relates to the acquisition of funds. Okay, we know how government works. There's all levels of. You have the Ministry of Finance and all signature levels, and all of those at every point, those levels were engaged and approval was given.
So you never approved the contract. The Ministry of Finance or the Minister of Finance would have had to give the final approval for the contracts.
The final approval for the monies, because
Right.
there was a conversation about the excess funds.
Mhm.
What I'm saying to you is that as it relates to the funds, those decisions were made above me. The reality of it is, Dwight and Ms. Musgrove, is that throughout the public sector, and I know a lot of public servants can attest to this, you are a creature of instructions and directives. Okay, and in this process, that was no different. Added to the fact, again, that the approval of funds did not reside with me.
Okay. I mean, I know from outside looking in that the Ministry of Finance, the finance minister, has the final approval on all the contracts. Okay.
All right, we're gonna have you back to talk about this in depth when things get a little further along with this.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. to the convention and what's happening this week. Shannon Cartwright, why do you want to be the deputy leader of the FNM?
Why do I want to be deputy leader of the FNM? It's a very interesting question, and I will say this. All my life, it's been about service, okay? And so this venture is about service to the members of the Free National Movement, to the legacy of the Free National Movement, to FNMs across the length and breadth of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and indeed, as a part of our thriving democracy, a commitment, a continuing service to the Bahamian people. I believe that we are at a very crucial juncture right now for our party and for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I believe humbly that I'm uniquely prepared to join hands with Michael Pintard, who I believe is a generational leader, to strengthen and unify our party, and to also recapture the confidence and the imagination of the Bahamian people in a way that transcends politics. I'm very proud of my team and I and what we've done in St. Barnabas in terms of, I guess some would say, weathering that wave that came through. And it's because, quite frankly and humbly, the service that we've given the people of St. Barnabas and the ability to transcend politics. I believe that if we truly want to transform the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, it should be about the bigness of our ideas and not the smallness of our politics. I believe that I will bring a level of organization and a level of service, a level of engaging people across the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, but particularly in our party and unifying our party. I've always been in my life about bringing people together for a common cause.
Why do you think the FNM lost, and in such a convincing way, in September?
I think that with the backdrop of a global pandemic, many decisions and considerations, a lot of pressure on both aspects of that process. And I believe that there was some lack of communication relative to some of our programs and what we were trying to do. I think that, to be very candid, I think that we may have come off, and not to suggest that we weren't compassionate in our deliberations, because we were, and I can attest to that, from the former leader on down. I think that the communications could have been better, and we may have come off as a penal government, and maybe not as compassionate as I knew that we were. So I think it was a matter of how we communicated many of our decisions.
And why was that? Well, why communications break down there? Because we know here this was intentional. People were intentionally not coming on to talk to us. We were told that specifically. They don't know we're not coming on your station. Why would a government do that?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I think a specific question to those persons who didn't come on. I can only approach it from an overall standpoint, where particularly during a crisis, people need to hear from their leaders. Okay, and while you're balancing, obviously, the great stress on you as a government, it becomes even more incumbent upon us as leaders, not just political leaders, but leaders across the country, to engage the people that we serve at a level that may at times seem excessive. But in a crisis, people want to hear. They want information. They want to know what's going on. They want to, and even in that approach and that exercise, people, the reality of it is, see a level of engagement as a level of compassion. Let me emphasize, I saw in our deliberations and experienced in our deliberations the compassion needed. Did that come out every time through every decision? Not necessarily.
Margaret Thatcher once said that persons should want to get into politics because there is some great issue that they feel that they can help resolve or solve, and they can do that via political power. I'm paraphrasing what she said. What is that issue? What is that burning desire that you want to help to fix or transform in our country that made you want to become a politician or join the political field?
Well, I'll say it's two, if I may, Ms. Musgrove, two major issues. I've always expressed to my children, as well as young people in particular that I come into contact with, that when the music of life stops, it doesn't matter how much wealth you have, how much education you have, you will only be remembered for how you've changed the lives of your people, how you've enriched their lives, and how you've transformed their country. I think that the lost and the left behind, the poor among us, is something that's always been dear to my heart, very, very dear to my heart. And while obviously there will always be persons who are on the lower end of the economic scale, for me it's very important that we move our people into the middle class, expand the middle class, to empower the poor in a way that's not just lip service. And frankly, the Free National Movement started that with the Over the Hill program. I think we can build on that, but moving our people upstream, poor to the middle class, and expand the middle class in a way that will help to, diversify our economy, make it robust, and where it yields the dreams and the aspirations of the Bahamian people in a real way. I also believe that there needs to be a focus on active citizenship, where each of us appreciate and understand that the Commonwealth of the Bahamas that we all desire starts from us individually and what we are willing to give our country, our community. And so all of us must begin to ask ourselves, how does our attitudes, our lifestyles, and our behaviors either contribute to the destruction of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas or the upliftment?
Mm-hmm. Do you feel the FNM has learned a lesson from this loss? Are you still in the process of learning? Where does the party stand at this point?
Yeah, I think that we are still in the process, and I think that we're taking a very proactive approach under the leadership of Michael Pintard. I believe that this convention is very important in determining that. But I believe that the FNM has always been fighting for the people. Anytime there's a loss by any political organization, it's important to reassess, to retool, and that's what we're doing. So it's important for us to capture the imagination of the Bahamian people in a real way, talk about the big ideas that will really transform this country. We know that the Free National Movement has been a part of transforming our country for decades. I mean, the Free National Movement established minimum wage and a shorter work week, and established local government, and deepened our democracy by opening the airwaves and essentially created its own opposition. And so the legacy of the Free National Movement continues to be strong. The Bahamian people, I believe, have confidence in the Free National Movement, notwithstanding their decision in the last election. It's just incumbent upon us, under the leadership of Michael Pintard, and I hope to join hands with him as the deputy leader, to ensure that we recapture that confidence again, and I believe that can be done.
Yeah. We've got to take a break. When we come back, a lot more with Shannon Don Cartwright. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us. We're going to be back in just a bit.
Shawty, you know who you should choose. Pick me, I'll show you what love is like. Let me be the one who will treat you right.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Good day, Airborne Freight and Cargo Services. How may I help you today?
Hey, listen, I just heard about you all, man.
Yes, sir. How may I help you, sir?
I hear you all giving out free things. And I's a mom with 12 children. I love free things.
Well, yes, sir. If you're ordering with Airborne Freight and Cargo Services for the first time, we will be giving you prizes just for shipping with us.
Hold on, wait. What all y'all giving out so?
Well, we're giving away gas vouchers, coupons from various outlets, up to 20% off your shipping fee, and so much more.
Could y'all please stop slamming my door? None of y'all pay no bills inside here. Sorry about that, Mom. Hey, you always ship double shoulders? Cause this woman expecting twins again, Dread.
Airborne Freight and Cargo Services. Get rewarded for being a new customer on top of our already low rates. Call us at 377-0450 or visit us on Facebook at Ship Airborne for more information.
Rent? Landlords? I am ready to build.
Yes, home ownership is a big deal, so move in merrily with CIBC First Caribbean. With your new mortgage, you'll get half off the appraisal cost, commitment fee, and more. Enjoy up to 95% financing and a homeowner benefits card to save at selected hardware, furniture, and appliance stores.
We moved in.
Merrily. Terms and conditions apply. Visit CIBCFCIB.com/move merrily for details.
There's only one way to have a better morning. How? Start your mornings the best way with our 2 for $6 breakfast sandwiches at Wendy's. For a limited time, choose any 2 of your favorite breakfast sandwiches, including the fresh Strachan sack muffin, honey buttermilk chicken biscuit, double sausage muffin, or the sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. Wash it all down with our cold brew shake or coffee. Better mornings always start at Wendy's. Wendy's, different inside and out. Excludes airport locations.
I have to take a business trip, and I want John to keep things running while I'm away. How can I ensure he keeps within budget? Maybe I need to get him a camera to record everything he does 24/7. Maybe not. Instead, get RBC Credit Share, the RBC credit card feature that allows you to easily and safely share funds with employees for free, and you set the spending limit, so you're always in control. Find out more at rbc.com/Caribbean/credit share. Special conditions apply.
Speed doesn't come easy. It takes your investment in your goals, your time, your full effort, full dedication. And when you think you've done enough, do it again. It takes precision, not just doing it, but doing it as best as possible. Day in, day out. And just like BTC, I will stop at nothing to make the people of the Bahamas stand up and cheer. That's what fuels me and why I'm a proud ambassador of BTC. Because we share a common desire to elevate your internet experience so you elevate everything you do with it and make it the best it can be. Switch to BTC Superfast Internet and elevate what's next.
Know how important collecting your money can be to the success of your business. Start your relationship with Fidelity today so that we can show you the many options available to you with our merchant services. From click and pay options online to merchant terminals and e-commerce options. We're here to help your business succeed. For more details, speak to one of our business development officers at 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 in Freeport. Visit our website at fidelitygroup.com or visit any of our branches.
Maria is going away to college and she needs access to money. But I'm worried about her spending. Maybe I can create an alarm that goes off every time she overspends. Or I'll just move in with her. Hi, Rumi. Or just get RBC Credit Share, the RBC credit card feature that allows you to easily and safely share funds with family members for free. And you set the spending limit so you're always in control. Find out more at rbc.com/Caribbean/credit share. Conditions apply.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Pick me, you acting like you don't know what to do. Pick me, shawty, you know who you should choose. Pick me, I'll show you what love is like. Let me be the one who will treat you right. Reason one, shawty, I gave you all of me. Reason two, there's no one better than me. Reason three, you and me. Why would you need more? So there is no four, except that I will be yours. Think about it. True love is a roller coaster. Just think about it. While riding with the joker, think about it. I'll hold you through the night just right for the rest of my life. Pick me, you acting like you don't know what to do. Pick me, shawty, you know who you should choose.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Pamela Musgrove. We are talking with Deputy Leader for the FNM candidate Shannon Don Cartwright. He's the MP for St. Barnabas, and having a great conversation this morning. I want to ask you this text message. This person says here, Dwight, have you noticed that the FNM leaders are refusing to call out the previous leaders, to say that Minnis was a bad leader? That's a problem. They refuse to name the problem. Where do you stand on that? That it was Hubert Minnis who cost the FNM. Hubert Minnis deserves most of the blame for what happened last year, for calling that early election, and for everything that has happened to the party.
I mean, when it comes to leadership, there is no doubt. I mean, many things fall, all things fall on leadership. There is no doubt. And so you have to take the good and the bad. The inefficiencies and the improvements that are made. Obviously, Dr. Hubert Minnis will have to assess his contribution to the loss, as we all do. It's a team effort. I think that there is no doubt that he would have made some very important decisions as it relates to how we maneuvered through the pandemic. I think he would be the first to say that he is not perfect. And so I think from that standpoint, along with our assessment that we have to make, all of that is a part of the basket that we have to look at. And it isn't about Dr. Hubert Minnis, the person, but it's more about leadership and what we can do to be better. And so, no, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. There's no need to lie to ourselves or discount the impact of what is required in leadership. And so I think that that's a justifiable question and considerations we all have to look at. What is the contribution from the former leader on down to the last soldier? What did we do that we could have done better? I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, I don't entirely agree with that texter because I think they're giving everybody else an easy out.
Right.
Because yes, Dr. Minnis was the leader, but what did the party do to check the leader? What did the members of parliament do to check the leader if you believed that the leader was headed in the wrong direction? Because there's a system. If there was a majority in the House that had voted, had issued a no confidence vote on the leader, then the leader would have had to do some things, call an election or be removed. I'm not saying that you would do that. So I'm saying there are avenues to deal with the leader, but the party or the members of parliament didn't. If you believe that he was largely the cause of what happened, then the other persons fell down on their duties as well. So I don't entirely agree that that's Dr. Minnis. I think it's a collective issue if the party got voted out and nobody could have seen it coming.
Yeah, I just think at the end of the day, there has to be, as I said, leadership has a very important function, and leadership always has to be assessed in any organization. There is no doubt about that. I think when it comes to particularly politics, I mean, this is a collective effort. Each of us are leaders in our respective constituencies. So as you said, Ms. Musgrove, the question you have to ask to, how are we in the representation of our people in our individual capacities in our constituencies? You will have to speak to persons in the other constituencies. I'm very proud of what we've done in St. Barnabas and how we inspired persons. We talk about this aspect of politics now where in the last few decades, I mean, we've alternated between political parties. The last time a political party was reelected consecutively was 1997. So I talked about earlier about capturing the imagination of the Bahamian people. We have to inspire our people so that when they go to the polls, they're not going there with apathy. They're going there to be inspired, to vote for something. And so that's what I'm talking about. In the Free National Movement, and I know in my conversations with Leader Pintard, this is something that he wants. I want to join with him so we can work at that with the rest of the officers. So that we can inspire the Bahamian people to not vote a government out, but to vote a party in based on the big ideas, based on the ideas of like city government and redeveloping downtown from Fort Charlotte on the west side to the Eastern Parade on the east side, and make downtown Nassau a livable city. With change Bay Street to pedestrian, and so that it can run parallel with the development of the port. Let's look at making the University of the Bahamas the global mecca for hospitality studies around the world, so that when somebody, a child in Russia, says, I want to get involved with a student in Russia who says, I want to get involved with hospitality studies, and they say, well, if you're interested in hospitality studies, you have to go down to the University of the Bahamas in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to study, because that's the mecca down there. So let's talk about the big ideas. I had the opportunity during my time on the Parliamentary Select Committee on Natural Resources to visit Grand Bahama to look at the aggregate situation there. But we drove out to the east end of Grand Bahama, and for me, just saw limitless potential of what East Grand Bahama can be. And so we need to look at the validity of and the viability of what could be done on the eastern end of Grand Bahama, and maybe to use a word associated with Grand Bahama, see what magic we could create on the eastern end of Grand Bahama. So we need to look at our global positioning, and as I said in the House of Assembly a few months ago, not just waiting for the cruise ships and the planes to return. And while we enjoy the fact that people come and visitors come in historic numbers for our sun, sand, and sea, let them come for our research and our intellect. I think that we've been playing too small, and I believe that the results in previous elections have shown that, and that's why we've been going back and forth. We need to inspire the Bahamian people and take them on a journey that they would want to be a part of.
So how do you convince Bahamians of that? Because to believe in you with these big ideas, because they would say, well, you guys were just in there and they never heard any of these ideas floating around while you were in government.
Not while, but when you were in opposition before, we heard some of those things before. But once you get in there, to Pam's point, then all of a sudden those bright ideas, where did they go?
Right, and we have to be, there's no doubt, and that's a fair assessment, we have to be resolute with it. While the past can be very instructive, the Free National Movement has my commitment, and the Bahamian people have my commitment as deputy leader of the Free National Movement, and by extension, one of the national leaders of a major political party, which that would be, to be resolute, to ensure that we bring these ideas, and not only bring them, but to close the execution gap. And that's your point, that there's been an execution gap, the gap between what we have said, and when I say we, the whole political structure, the gap between what we would have said and what we actually do. Yeah. And again, that's the reason for the disenchantment and the low level of turnout, because we always have credit to both political organizations, or political organizations in general, but particularly the two major ones, the great campaigns where the Bahamian people are understandably inspired for a moment, the big campaigns. But then when we get into government, to the Bahamian people's view, it does not meet the mark.
Yeah. And we're given the excuse that we've run out of time, and this is not the right time to do this, even though that was promised.
And even though you will not be able to meet, in my view, all of the expectations all the time, and the voter has the right to have expectations, and to have expectations that we may not be able to achieve or reach in that particular time, but that's the role of the voter. That's the role of the Bahamian people. Our job is to do our endeavor best to try and fulfill the dreams and the aspirations of the Bahamian people in a real and transformational way.
All right, we got to take a quick break for the news. You can stick around for a couple more minutes, right? And we're going to pick this up on the other side. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio. We're talking with Shannon Dawn Cartwright. We'll get into the deputy leadership race when we get back. Stay with us.
This is Guardian Radio. FM,
The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Monday, February 21st, 2022. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Dwight Strachan along with Pamela Musgrove, and we continue our discussion with Shannon Don Cartwright. He's running for deputy leader of the FNM. Their convention begins Wednesday. And we're having a great discussion with the St. Barnabas MP. All right, so this leadership race, how many are there running for deputy leader?
It's myself and my parliamentary colleague, Adrian White.
Right. Okay. How do you feel it's going so far?
I feel it's going well. You know, one of the things that I've been emphasizing to delegates, and they've been expressing and emphasizing to me, is my long-standing history with the party. And as I've been sharing, rarely do you get the opportunity to come through a party from the bottom, if you will. And I use that word very loosely. Because there's honor in working through an organization and being at the doorsteps of leadership. And so I'm very proud of my history and my time in the party. I've served as the chairman of the National Membership Committee for the party. I'm a 3-time elected national officer. And as I sit here, I'm still a national officer, and obviously that will change at the convention because I'm not running for that office anymore. And so been a part of the platform committee in 2017 until I got my nomination. I've been a foot soldier. I know what it is to be out late at night campaigning for someone. And so I know the cries and the concerns of the members. And obviously, as a part of leadership, you need to know exactly, as Mama would have said, he who feels it knows it. And so I've felt it for a long time, so I know exactly what it is that fellow members want, desire, and go through during the ebbs and flow in a political party and in politics. Yeah.
Are there any reforms on the party level do you think that should be pushed at the convention?
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of recommendations that we'll be looking at. One, namely, that stands out for me is that, we have meritorious council members, which is the highest designation that you can give anybody in the party. And I think there's a general consensus in the party that needs to be increased. When you've been a party for 50 years, definitely you want your those designations, meritorious council members, to reflect in the long history and legacy that you have. So I know that is something that the convention
increased.
Yes,
really. Wow. How many do you have now?
Right now, constitutionally, it's at 100. Okay, but of course, we've had persons who would have passed. So there's about 85, 86. So constitutionally, we have 15 to fill. But there is a recommendation to increase it at the convention.
So what are the powers?
What comes along with being a married? Yeah.
Well, I mean, you are on the council of the Free National Movement for life, for life. And more than anything, it's a recognition that you are senior person in the party, as people would say, who has given so much in talent and treasures to the party, and more substantively, the fight for creating an opportunity society and the deepening of our democracy.
Do they have any weight when it comes to voting for the leader?
Their vote is as equal as any. Their vote is as equal as any other delegate.
I thought you were going to say they got 2 votes. Or
No,
something.
not at all.
Okay.
They're not a monolithic group in the sense that they vote together. One thing about the Free National Movement, in my experience over the decades, is that there are so many independent thinkers. Not surprisingly, we're a party that was started out of dissent, and it's a good thing. And so when you have a party that was started on the foundation of dissent, naturally you will have a lot of persons who have a lot of varying views. But I believe it's our diversity that builds consensus, and it's consensus that allows progress to happen in a meaningful way.
How often should your party have a convention?
The Constitution states that our party should have a convention every 2 years, unless the Central Council, which is the authority outside of a convention, makes a decision.
And who makes up that Central Council?
The Central Council is comprised of delegates from constituency associations, advisory council members, meritorious council members, persons in the leadership and the leadership council, members of parliament, senators.
Is that something you want to see? Because I know you went without having a convention according to the Constitution. Shouldn't that be something that no matter what, and given that we've had COVID and now we can use Zoom and remote, you should still meet, shouldn't that be something that your party put into place where you have convention at the assigned time? And I say that because, there's a proverb that says, he who is faithful over little will be faithful over much. So if you don't honor those the conventions of your constitution, if you don't honor your constitution as a party, then I think when we go against the constitution of the nation, we shouldn't be surprised.
Well, what I would say is, the life of a political party is very dynamic. A lot of things are going on a day-to-day basis, monthly, yearly basis. I believe fundamentally, having your convention is so important for the continuity of your party. Issues are always coming up, and even as we talk about the recommendations and changes that need to happen, or the suggestions of them, even that would suggest that as soon as you can have a convention is always good, so that you can make these needed changes. You have to be nimble enough and agile enough to meet the needs of the electorate. To meet the needs of the changes demographically and organizationally within constituency associations. So there's no doubt that there is a substantive benefit to having your conventions frequently, and I use that as a relative term, because it gives your organization chance to really adjust according to the political landscape.
Yeah. So what's going to be happening this week? What's your week looking like, and when will we know who will be the next deputy leader?
Well, delegates start arriving and registering tomorrow, Tuesday. We start have a night session on Wednesday. Then there's a day session Thursday, night session that will be televised on Thursday. The voting for officers from deputy leader on down to trustees, that will happen Friday morning. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's between 9 and 2, or 9 and 4, if I'm not mistaken. And then you will know the victors, and then we will go into our evening session on Friday night, and Saturday will be the installation of officers. So everybody will be, deputy leader-elect and so on Friday, and then the installation of officers, and then church service on Sunday.
According to the Tribune, the FNL will spend $200,000 on this in-person convention. How do parties pay for conventions?
From donors, from donors. It's a part of our democracy, a part of our democracy, a thriving democracy. The persons, they support their political parties, and in a noble way. Not every person who supports a political party wants something tangible or wants opportunities. Everybody, we live in a democracy, and everybody has different views and political philosophies. And at the end of the day, they support which party they believe is most aligned with their political philosophy. And again, it's a part of democracy.
So, given the rise in ranks in the party, do you see this campaign finance reform, where we make these donations public? Do you see that as something that you would lobby for, or you're okay with the system the way it is?
No, I think that there's a balance that you can approach it with. I mean, I understand that persons may not want it to be publicized which party they support. We are, even as a voter, I know when I was a young boy to ask somebody who they vote for, they say none of your business. Where in the U.S., they actually register. They register who they support. So I think it's a societal thing. I think that there is something to be said about addressing the aspect of transparency in the finances and how we finance, political campaigns. The Bahamian people want to know, and that's understandable. It's something that we're going to have to look at and address, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll get back to the leadership race in a second. But what do you make of how the Davis administration is doing so far? What do you think they've done right? What have they done wrong? What are you concerned about?
Well, more particularly what the Bahamian people are concerned about. The Bahamian people are concerned that VAT on bread basket items is reaping havoc on them. It's making it very difficult for them to acquire their medications. I have constituents who tell me every day. I had a gentleman who called me about a week ago and said, "Mr. Cartwright, my $40, in the grocery store and to get stuff for his newborn, now costs him more, and he has 2 less items now that he puts in his hand." And so, people are very, very concerned about what inflation and the great pressure on the global supply chain is doing to all countries. So they're very concerned about those bread basket items, and we've suggested to the government to take, we even put forward an amendment in Parliament to take VAT off of bread basket items through Kwesi Thompson. Through Kwesi Thompson, he would have. We would have suggested some other things in terms of restoring 12% on high-valued properties over $2 million. Right now, poor people in the middle class, they're hurting with this decision. You also have the concern of increased crime and violent crime. We've asked the government, and again, let me say that crime should not be used as a political issue or political football, in my view. But it is incumbent upon any government, and this government, it's incumbent upon them to put forward a strategic plan. What is the approach to this increase, in crime? And so you have a lot of concerns out there, particularly the poor and the middle class in this country. But what's definitely at the forefront is a lot of people are hurting with this bread basket items. And if you think about it, the VAT on prescriptions, we're still in the middle of a global pandemic. We're a population who are susceptible to non-communicable diseases. And so now we've made it more difficult for persons to get their medication. And that's real. And that's not propagating in anything. That's in fact very real. And as I would have stated in the House, in any form of taxation, you determine who carries the burden. And we feel that the government's decision has placed that burden on the poor and middle class.
Yeah. Callers, we'll get to you in a second. But do you have any other suggestions on what the government can do to help alleviate during this time, if only temporarily, this high cost of living that we're seeing right now as a result of inflation and the shortages globally?
Yeah, well, I think also to assist through, the social service safety nets. That's something that we can look at, and also unemployment benefits. This has been a real hard time, as we all know, real hard time. I expressed to a group of young men the other day that, for some of us, thank God, we have the ability to use a cart to shop, or even a basket. for a lot of people and many people in my constituency, they shop with in their arms. You know, one or two pieces of goods in their arms, and that's real. You know, so hustle of $20-$30 a day is serious. It's serious for them.
So how do you feel about increasing minimum wage?
I believe I believe we need to look at it. I don't want to be naive of the implications of it in terms of on businesses, but I do believe it's something that we need to look at. I would have again shared in the House of Assembly on record that we do need to increase it, but there has to be a certain approach. You sit down with all of the stakeholders. I don't subscribe to the idea that increase in minimum wage is bad for business. You know, I believe that it actually helps business. It boosts morale, it boosts productivity, and so it can increase your bottom line. But I think a conversation has to be had, and it's something that needs to be looked at.
All right, let's see if we can take these calls. Yeah. Call, I know you've been there for a little while, but hopefully you're still there. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hello?
Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Juan Miller, this is a great Juan McCartney, this is a great show.
No, not Juan McCartney. No,
Dwight
this is Dwight Strachan. This is the morning.
Juan?
Dwight Strachan.
Dwight
Yeah.
Strachan.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, we're talking with Shannon
I've been
Cartwright.
here waiting for a long time to speak, and a little lost of words now. But you have a great person on there, and Mr. Shannon Cartwright. I myself, I'm a supporter of Mr. Cartwright. I live in St. Barnabas, and we have a lot of people in St. Barnabas that was greatly affected by Mr. Cartwright. If it wasn't for his personal touch with coming around and dealing with all the people, a lot of people in St. Barnabas would have been suffering.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
great
Thank you.
stuff.
Thank you very much,
Very
sir.
much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right. I'm going to take this other call. Good morning, caller. You're on Morning Blend Business.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi. Good morning, Pamela.
Good morning.
All right, Mr. Cartwright.
Hey, good morning. That's
What's happening, Papa?
That's
Mr.
Papa.
Cartwright.
Yes, sir.
I want to say something quickly. You know, I am a supporter of the Progressive Liberal Party,
Yes, sir.
and you know, I feel like these guys are really not connecting with us, the people, with our cry. They think it's a game. They're not connecting with us with this wad on bread basket items because they can afford it and they see it as a minimum amount, and maybe the fast food companies not paying enough with the mayonnaise and all the other rest of it. But this thing's what the majority of poor people eat. You understand? Now, in spite of, you know, us getting rid of the Free National Movement and, you know, believe that Dr. Menace is the worst prime minister, this prime minister and this government put the wad on us, Mr. Cartwright. I don't want to say thanks on behalf of all us PLPs who was able to get some work from the ministry, from the authority where you was as the chairman. And, you know, we feel someone used the word confused earlier. We feel kind of just stupid, all right? Us who voted for the Progressive Liberal Party, for Brave to be prime minister, they stop our job in December, Cartwright, and they ain't pay us yet. And Cartwright, they ain't no way we trying our best to get it renewed or start again. And Cartwright, they have people on the road right now where they give it to these so-called generals. And us who voted for Brave to be prime minister feel stupid getting rid of you guys. You understand? And I salute those PLPs in St. Barnabas who stand against the wave and support a good man like Cartwright. If I had the opportunity, I'll do it again. I wish you all the best, and I'll enjoy you as the Deputy Prime Minister or Prime Minister of this country. You have proven yourselves, so keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Wow. Let's take one more. We're running out of time here. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight, and good morning, Pam.
Good morning. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Cartwright. Good morning to the nation. Mr. Cartwright.
Yes, sir.
Boy, you talk a good game, but everything that you're saying doesn't chalk up to be what it is. You remember the gentleman that came to you when you first won with the portfolio with hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment, riding lawnmowers, commercial, whackers, blowers, everything, the work. Set up like the white people in the U.S. You remember that gentleman, right?
Well, there would have been a number of persons who would come in.
You remember me chasing you down for 4.5 years trying to get a contract, and to this day, I have not received a contract from you. Also, I am a supporter of the Progressive Liberal Party. You got a call from the leader of the opposition who asked you to please try to assist me based on all of the equipment that I have. And Mr. Cartwright, you told me that you couldn't give me any work because the hierarchy up the road was watching you. And I'm a supporter of the Progressive Liberal Party. You remember that, right?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember that, sir.
You don't remember
But
that.
but
Okay.
let me. But
Mr. Cartwright,
yes,
I
sir.
have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of equipment
Right.
set up like the white people in the U.S., riding lawnmowers, commercial, everything, right?
Mhm.
And Mr. Cartwright, you had people on the side of the road on major thoroughfares pushing lawnmowers, and 4.5 years you string me around and you told me that you could not give me any work because Menace was watching you, and I am a supporter of the Progressive Liberal Party, a known supporter of the Progressive Liberal Party, so you could not give me any work. Now, I think that was deplorable. You talk a good game, and people really say some good positive things about you, which may be true, all right, but Mr. Cartwright, I did not appreciate the fact that I am a Bahamian first. My business was licensed, insured, and I had all of the equipment and everything, and my contributions was up to date. So I really, really am not happy at all to have people like that in place who knows that Bahamians have what it takes to get a job done, and before they give that Bahamian that job, they would rather give it to people who would not get the work done and everything. I think I can't agree with that. So, but you are a good man. I hear some good things about you, but I happen to just not have the experience that the other people have had. So, but yet you
Let's
still
get
a
him
good
to
man. I
respond.
don't want to take that from you.
Let's get him to respond. Thank you very much, caller.
Well, sir, thank you very much for your comments. Let me just say, I don't recall the conversation, but what I can say is that I've always been about empowering Bahamians, period. And I believe that the evidence of that, the Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority, is seen in the many persons of the Progressive Liberal Party who will have gotten opportunities, because I believe at the end of the day, it's about Bahamians. Unfortunately, the reality of it is that not everyone will get an opportunity. I would never suggest that somebody will be prevented from getting an opportunity because of their political affiliation, or that that the lack of that opportunity is because it's being directed by anybody. But let me just say, I humbly do apologize that you did not get an opportunity in terms of your business. It was not a deliberate attempt to disadvantage you, sir. And just so you know that I'm committed to empowering Bahamians, period. So my apologies for not being able to fulfill a request. Like I said, on a daily basis, I would see in some cases 50 persons a day waiting outside my office, unannounced, and I did my endeavor best, even with those persons who didn't have appointments, irrespective of their politics, whether acknowledged or not. I would sit down and see them and try to see how we can best assist them in any kind of way. So I apologize, and hopefully, God's willing, that the opportunity will present itself at some point in the future.
Okay, Pam and I are itching. But I mean, did he say the opposition leader called? I mean, you would get calls like that? Is that how it works? This is why we're in the state.
No.
But he said that.
Right, I
members
mean,
of
yes, but I mean, it
Parliament-
sounds like it was a little more formal. But I mean, are you getting calls?
You're not getting any calls to disadvantage anybody. What I would
to advantage somebody.
What I would have mentioned earlier in terms of how the program works is that the programs, because they are they involve the members of Parliament, as we discussed.
Right.
Obviously, when they involve members of Parliament in terms of the works program, naturally, I guess it's understandable to say that supporters would get opportunities. Yes, but we made sure again that it was balanced. Specific to the gentleman's statement, that I didn't recall that. I've never been in a situation where I've received a call from the former leader to say not give anybody an opportunity. So
he was saying
he's saying he
you're getting a
asked
call.
you
The leader was asking
help
you
him
to
out.
help this person. Yeah.
Well, I don't recall that. I don't recall it, and I say that sincerely.
Yeah.
So now that you're in opposition, do you expect that you would also send persons to the chairman now of Beaches and Park for contracts?
Well, I mean, it depends. Depends on how once they formalize how the program is running. Once they formalize that, we will make interventions to find out because it's not about it's about again poor people, middle class people, people in general getting the opportunities. Again, nobody should not be able to get access to opportunities through public funds. So we will see what amendments are made to the program, and then we'll go from there.
So the program changes from administration to administration.
Well, I mean, there are things that can be changed. We in our case, it was not changed entirely. We pretty much operated by established processes and procedures that we met in place, and so we'll have dialogue with the government and see if it has changed.
Do you think these jobs program are so important to successive administrations because we have not been able to create new industries? We have not been able to really grow this economy so that persons, it doesn't matter what your socioeconomic background is, can get a job and work, and a good paying job?
Yeah, I think that's one aspect of it. That the great pressure on our economy that isn't as nimble and as agile as we all would like it to be, to absorb all of the persons who desire to work. It's political as well. I guess it doesn't make sense to insult the Bahamian people in that regard. And I think that there's a balanced approach that we have to take, and we do have to have a larger conversation about political patronage in the country, and how that happens. I mean, there are legitimate opportunities that are there through various ministries that Bahamians can take advantage of, and so I wouldn't suggest that every opportunity or every program out there is that way to ensure that their supporters get taken care of. We have a whole system in government where opportunities or work is needed, and the structure of the public service or the structure of the work that is needed may not be able to be facilitated by what we have. So you may need to outsource them.
Yeah. All right, we've got about a minute left. So you mentioned it. You're facing off against Adrian White. Why you over Adrian White for deputy leader of the FNM?
Well, I'd like to tell you, Brother Stone, what I'm for. Okay, I believe again that what our party needs right now are consensus builders. I believe that and know that Michael Pintard is such a leader, consensus builder. The ability again to transcend politics. I believe that as you bring it back, of course, to the Free National Movement, the strengthening of the party and the ability to unify the party requires a certain skill set and certain relationships and connections to the party and a certain experience. And I believe that I have that experience, that connection, and the skill set, the organizational skill set, and the ability to bring people together in a way that will not only be beneficial to the Free National Movement as we work to recapture the confidence and imagination of the Bahamian people, but definitely to the body politic within the party and the members within the party.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Shannon Don Cartwright.
Okay,
You want
one
to get
more
in?
question.
Squeeze it
What
in
do
there,
you
Pat?
say to those people who say that you guys are just warming up the seat for down the road someone else to emerge as leader of the party? As a young person, what do you say to those persons?
Well, I say this. I mean, we are. You hear all the conversations. Obviously, we are a thriving democracy in the Free National Movement. My focus and the leader of the Free National Movement, Michael Pintard's focus, is to, like I said, to retool our party. We are going to do that, and I will do that. Should I be elected deputy leader of the Free National Movement, and even if I'm not elected, I will do that in whatever capacity that my party needs. And at the end of the day, I guess as people project about a possible another convention and so forth. Honestly, those kind of things will take care of themselves. Our job, should I be elected deputy leader, is to join with Michael Pintard and to represent the interests of the Free National Movement, to espouse the views and positions that the Bahamian people, that's topical and the Bahamian people are talking about, like VAT on bread basket items and the increase in crime, and to acquit ourselves in both of those capacities. A convention will come in the future, and just as they've made a determination for Michael Pintard to be leader, and now they're going to make some other determinations at that point, the delegates of the Free National Movement will have the democratic right to make it then.
Yeah, you say you've heard it too. Yeah. So
No, what I'm saying, there are always discussions about the future. This is politics, and what I'm saying is that you can't control that. Your job is to do a job, right, and then make an argument that if and when the time comes again for another convention, and you have another election of officers, is to say why, okay, up to that point, why you should stay as leader, or in the case if I'm elected deputy leader, why you should stay as deputy leader. That's a democracy. It's nothing to be afraid of. Yeah. Nothing is given to you. Nothing is guaranteed. You must work and prove yourself.
Shannon Akari, thank you so much. Thank you for the extra time.
No, thank you very much.
Very interesting conversation this morning.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to take a break and be back with more. This is Morning Blend Business. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Drive happy with free fuel for a year with CIBC First Caribbean and Esso. Use your CIBC First Caribbean Visa debit or credit card to fuel up with $25 or over at any participating Esso service station, and you are automatically entered for a chance to win the grand prize and weekly prizes of $200 in fuel or cash. Offer runs until March 20th, 2022. Terms and conditions apply. Visit CIBCFCIB.com for more details. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
This traffic report is brought to you by Shield Insurance and Prudential Loss Adjusters.
Good morning. And a final look at traffic now. We can see that some of the commutes still hanging out there and having to deal with the congestions that were built up before 9 o'clock. There was a mad rush. Thoroughfares like our Southwest Gateways, Glasses Road, to get totally cleared out, even though there is still a remnants of that traffic trying to get out there on the JFK. So Malabala Highway, much improved. A lot of the traffic out of there, and you saw the work being done within the last 15 minutes or so with the assistance of Tony Swing Darling West Lane, and so only the remnants getting out of there now, too. Carmichael Road has calmed down significantly within the past hour, and so it's a pretty nominal ride now to get to the Blue Hill Road traffic light onto Blue Hill Road. Independence Drive, the West Lane especially, has slowed down the roundabout there at Blue Hill Road and Tony Swing and Darling, and that, of course, also slowed what's coming off the hill on Blue Hill Road as well. And that situation is beginning to simmer down now that we're much later after 9. West Bay Street had its challenges for the ride coming in from the far west. So from West Bend, you were involved in the traffic line there, bumper to bumper, a lot until you got through the roundabout there at Saunders Beach. And now that you're past Saunders Beach, it kind of lightens up coming into the city. But kudos to the Eastern Road. They're really out of there. They got that traffic moving. Prince Giles Drive, not a bad ride either. And even though Marathon Road has a consistent line, the heaviest of it has already gone through into the Wolf Road area. This National Traffic Report, service of J.S. Johnson, the only insurance agents and brokers giving you peace of mind in the Bahamas for over 100 years. With around the sky like a traffic in real time, I'm VANN. Have a safe drive.
Michael was in a horrible car accident. Prudential Loss Adjusters managed his claim and got him the settlement he deserved. Sierra's roof received hurricane damage. Thanks to Prudential, she and her kids are happy with their claim settlement. Tammy fractured her ankle in a slip and fall. Prudential saved her time, money, and peace of mind. Prudential Loss Adjusters are here for you whenever a tragedy strikes. Call 322-4026 now.
Protect the things that really matter to you. Shield Insurance is the insurance company that grows with you to meet your insurance needs through this beautiful adventure we call life. From automobile to home to life and health, boat, liability, construction, and business insurance, Shield has affordable policies, flexible options, friendly service, and the expertise to protect your hard-earned assets. Shield Insurance agents and brokers in Nassau, call 356-7202 or Freeport 352-5945.
relationship banking. We take pride in getting to know our clients. You have access to knowledgeable, approachable ambassadors and financial coaches so that we can recommend the best product for you. At Fidelity, we care about you. From your financial health to your physical health, we can relate to you because we're just like you. Come and start your relationship banking experience with us today. Visit us online at fidelitygroup.com. Visit any of our branches in Nassau or Grand Bahama, or phone 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 for Freeport.
Beulah gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood.
We now large and in charge, so we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too?
Of course we can.
But we could be in deep trouble if they find out.
We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami.
So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles.
Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal.
So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
Ready to save? You can put $100 into the CFAL Savings Express Plan and make sure your money keeps growing. Earn interest on your savings while you're sleeping, eating, or standing in line at the bank. Ready to invest? Start by putting $1,000 into our mutual funds and earn interest there too. Because at CFAL, your interest is our interest. Visit CFAL.com to start now. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations of Bahamians.
If you're looking to diversify your portfolio, chart a course for RF Mutual Funds, where you can get global returns through our suite of internationally invested funds. Get exposure in U.S., Asian, European, and emerging markets without central bank approval. And with financial services leader Morgan Stanley as the advisor and custodian of our international funds, you can benefit from RF's global connections. Set sail for international markets today by visiting rfgroup.com. RF, money at work.
Drive happy with free fuel for a year with CIBC First Caribbean and Esso. Use your CIBC First Caribbean Visa debit or credit card to fuel up with $25 or over at any participating Esso service station, and you are automatically entered for a chance to win the grand prize and weekly prizes of $200 in fuel or cash. Offer runs until March 20th, 2022. Terms and conditions apply. Visit CIBCFCIB.com for more details. The Esso brand is a trademark of the ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
It's time for your morning business report brought to you by CFAL. The Ministry of Finance says a sick-out staged last week by finance and accounting staff throughout the public service resulted in more than $7 million in revenue losses and will cause a deferral in increment payments. The sick-out, which the ministry said was not an industrial action, took place from February 14th through 18th and stemmed from issues pertaining to promotions and allowances for those accounting and finance officers, which the ministry said were long-standing matters. It said that the impact of this action on the delivery of services was severe and that no payments to vendors or employees were processed, and more importantly, the accounting and collection of revenue were impacted. The estimated financial impact of the coordinated sick-out, according to the ministry in their statement to the government, about $7.5 million due to revenue lost or foregone and lost efficiency. It also said the immediate impact of the coordinated sick-out would be that the promised payments of increments for fiscal year 20 and 2021 to public officers could be delayed even further. The statement also says that the Prime Minister had indicated in the supplementary budget that a decision on reinstating those increments would have been made around the mid-year budget, which would cost the government about an additional $7 million. Given the losses experienced by the SICAV, the reinstatement in all likelihood would be deferred. Read more about this in today's Guardian business section. A study into the country's tax regime and the impact of possibly implementing a global minimum 15% corporate tax will be complete by the end of this fiscal year, according to Economic Affairs Minister Michael Alkidis. The Bahamas, one of 136 OECD member jurisdictions that agreed last year to the G20 OECD Inclusive Framework on Base Erosion and Profit Shifting to reform the global taxation system, which calls for the implementation of a 15% minimum tax. Halkida says the government won't make any movements on tax reform measures unless there is a full stakeholder buy-in. And Cisco Bahamas Food Services is in talks with a major cruise line interested in using locally grown produce to create several menu items aboard cruise ships. That's according to a BAMSI statement. Cisco principal Karen Casey explaining in the statement that the cruise line and Cisco are currently determining what produce from the Bahamas will be used. Overseas, Ethiopia has started generating electricity from the controversial mega dam that is being built on the Blue Nile. The milestone reached on Sunday morning when one of the 13 turbines in the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam started power generation in an event officiated by the Prime Minister. The dam will be Africa's largest hydroelectric dam upon completion. The dam, which will have a total power generating capacity of 6,500 megawatts, has been the source of tensions between Ethiopia and other riparian states, including Sudan and Egypt. Ethiopia has already conducted 2 fillings of the dam, but the speed at which it will be filled and the amount of water that will be released during drought seasons remains unsolved. Egypt fears a quick filling of the dam will reduce its share of Nile waters and seeks a binding legal agreement in the case of dispute. Ethiopia contends that the $4.2 billion dam is essential for its development and will enable it to distribute power to its population of more than 110 million people. Closer to home in your Market Watch, recapping trading on the BISX from Friday. Your market mover is Cable Bahamas, moving 14,175 shares, up 11 cents to 330. Consolidated Water, unchanged, 197. Emira Incorporated, unchanged at 1131. The BISX All-Share Index closing at 2,246.02, up 1.98. That's your Market Watch. And that is your morning business report brought to you by CFAL, growing wealth for future generations. And tune in for CFAL Talks tonight, right here on Guardian Radio 96.9 at 6:30 p.m.
Pick me, you acting like you don't know what to do. Pick me, shawty, you know who you should choose. Pick me, I'll show you what love is like. Let me be the one who will treat you right. Reason one, shawty, I gave you one.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9 Morning Blend Business, and Dwight Strachan with Pamela Musgrove. We told you at the start of the show that we were expecting Director of Communications Latrey Ramming to join us to talk about the new COVID rules. We've had to reschedule, so hopefully sometime this week we'll sort that out and get that together for you. Yeah. We've still got some calls, and we do want to talk about another issue in the business section, but let's take these calls really quickly if they're still there, and then we'll get to that. Good morning, caller on Morning Blend Business.
Good morning,
Turn
caller.
on your radio for us, please.
Good morning, caller. On your radio for us.
Turn, oh boy. Okay.
Good morning, caller. On your radio for us. Good morning, caller.
Okay. Well, that is creepy. Okay. So the big story in the Guardian business section, Ministry of Finance, that's sick out. You remember that? Just a few days ago, sick out cost more than $7 million in revenue to the government. What? Paige McCartney writing about this. The Ministry of Finance says a sick-out staged last week by finance and accounting staff throughout the public service resulted in more than $7 million in revenue losses and will cause a deferral in increment payments. That's a lot of money, Pam. In a statement, the Ministry of Finance says the impact of this action on the delivery of services was severe. No payments to vendors or employees were processed, and more importantly, the accounting and collection of revenue were impacted. The estimated financial impact of this coordinated sick-out to the government was $7.5 million due to revenue lost or foregone and lost efficiency. The immediate impact of this coordinated sick-out would be that the promised payment of increments for the fiscal year 2020-2021 to public officers could be delayed even further. The Prime Minister had indicated in the supplementary budget that a decision on reinstating those increments would have been made around the mid-year budget, which would cost the government an additional $7 million. Given the losses experienced by the sick-out, this reinstatement in all likelihood would be deferred. Well, that's pretty convenient there. Anyway, let me read on. As this was not industrial action authorized by the Bahamas Public Service Union, the bargaining agent for this group of employees, the government is not aware of any grievance. The president of the BPSU, Kimsley Ferguson, was also unavailable to meet with public officials for the entire week of the sick-out. That's all in the statement there. Now, the Ministry of Finance said the officers who staged the sick-out were given unauthorized pay increases and promotions in February 2021 by senior officials in the ministry, receiving an average salary increase of $5,000 during this exercise without approval by the Public Service Commission. The statement goes on to say, quote, this lack of approval from the Public Service Commission means that these officers can't receive job letters reflecting their new salaries, and their retirement benefits would also not reflect their new salaries. Work started in October 2021 to correct the situation. Still, some finance and accounting officers apparently believe that they should be exempt from the Public Service's financial rules. Though through this coordinated work stoppage, they felt that they could have coerced the government to accept this unauthorized pay increase. The government is steadfast in its belief that no one group of employees should hold the entire public service hostage, and it must treat all public officers fairly. It is unfortunate that this selfish act has impacted so many other public officers through the possible continuation of increment deferrals and also vendors of the government. The government is committed to continuing the exercise to regularize this unauthorized pay increase received by these officers.
So according to the Bahamas Public Service Union chief, he spoke with Mr. Mitchell, who advised him that he spoke to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister has disavowed himself from that statement that was made.
What now?
And that he had no knowledge of that statement, and it's not from the government.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What
so,
is what?
Because the statement doesn't make any sense.
The statement is very
You
scoldy.
lost because persons
so what's
had
happening
a sick
here?
out, you lost $7.5 million.
So which part is he
Your claim.
disavowing?
This is
the
under
$7
trivia.
million part,
Yeah, that's
or
the statement that was made. I don't know who made the statement that you read. And they're saying that the Prime Minister disavows any knowledge of the release, and the release had nothing to do with the government.
So how is that possible?
Right? See, I think when you're doing, because it's a public service, when you're doing these exercise of increasing and adjusting salaries, it has to be done across the board. If you do it for one segment, then the other segment is going to look at it and say, well, what happened to us? So I think you have to be very careful when people look at other persons getting increases or other persons getting promotion, but the other segment isn't getting it. They tend to be concerned, and you're going to have problems. So I don't know who made that initial statement, but the Minister of Finance and Prime Minister is disavowing any knowledge.
All right,
of
so
it.
what
And
exactly
it's
is
nothing to do with
happening
government.
here? Because now we've got people getting paid stuff that they weren't supposed to get paid, and now people issuing statements who aren't supposed to be issuing statements.
I
And
think the press secretary is going to have to deal with that.
This is some madness.
Misstatements. He's going to
This
have to
is
walk in and
extreme
try
madness.
to deal with that.
Wow. Okay, and these are the folks who are controlling the money.
Yeah, I just think like I mentioned earlier, you know, when the new administration came in, some persons got promotions, some persons got, I guess, increases. It has to be done across the board for all public service. So you have to look at all public service because you're going to get people becoming very upset and very concerned if they look at one segment getting it and we didn't get anything. So you have to sort that out.
Wow. Okay, so you've got to get on the papers today, folks, to read these
Both sides.
both sides of the stories,
Both
to
sides.
see what's happening.
Both
This
sides.
is quite, and this shouldn't go under the radar. This is actually a pretty big story. What's happening here? This is very bizarre. Pay attention, folks. Get the business sections of both papers to read this. This is some wacky stuff. Wow. Okay. All right. That's cause for great concern. Pamela Musgrove,
Thank you very much, Dwight.
always a pleasure.
Have a blessed week, Bahamas.
I'll see you next week, and I'll be back tomorrow morning with more Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9 and Morning Blend Business. Have a great day. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green coming up next.
Wake up, it's a new day.